Leslie. Yeah? I know, Jamal, there haven't been any messages for you.
May I see your identification badge, please?
Jeez, you little bastards are quiet. Here. Watu, Barada, Niktu, okay?
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bishop, and with me today, as always, is Sam the Man Stepanenko.
I so hate shopping.
It is the worst, isn't it?
It's so necessary, but so tedious.
It is. Nothing's worse than shopping with a woman who wants to shop in every mall and try on every piece of clothes. Hi, Trish.
You have the wrong fucking woman. I hate shopping as well.
I saw that response coming a mile away.
I hate the fucking lighting. I hate the whole fucking thing. The mirrors are just angry and unpleasant.
That's going on a t-shirt.
I mean, I'm not even joking about this. Like, every time I go shopping, I've brought friends with me and I've had panic attacks. Like, vomiting panic attacks.
Okay,
It's
well,
not
I'm
even good.
really looking forward to talking about shopping today.
Well, this is a very different mall containing many, many stores I have never seen in a mall.
Well, it was a real mall.
It was a real mall.
I know, but...
And resurrected once again, Jeff Omega refuses to die. Welcome back, Jeff.
It's been a pleasure.
I can't believe that Jeff survived that whole zombie apocalypse. Wait a minute, how did I survive it?
We
can't say that we didn't clone you.
we guested on Mike, and Oscar. So if anybody doesn't know what that reference means, you're gonna have to go listen to that episode as part of All the Horror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's part of the All the Horror convention for your ears.
Yes.
Well over 31 podcasts, a different one dropping every day for the month of October, and that one was about a week ago, and with Mike, and Oscar. By the time you hear this,
almost
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it was fun. It was great. There's lots of good little segments from all sorts of podcasts, including yours truly.
Yes, and according to Mike and Mike, we created a whole new type of zombie.
It's true. Ours can
You're not
open doors with keys.
Ours can open doors with keys. Ours has catchphrases, which is very
not
weird.
content on remaking movies. You have to remake zombies as well.
Apparently we do.
Absolutely.
We remade the zombie. And
Nothing is
And
safe.
it is the fastest acting zombie virus ever.
It is. It's a very fast-acting zombie virus. Also, I make a spectacular heel turn, so don't miss that episode of Mike, and Oscar.
Can you really make a heel turn if you were a heel to begin with?
All right, Jeff is here. Yes.
I guess I always have been the heel of the show.
Yeah,
to
Jeff
use a
has
wrestling
checked in.
He is back, ladies and gentlemen. Back.
I'm not
back.
full heel.
You have
You're
moments
like,
of it.
You're like modern
right.
WWE. Heel,
I am
where,
yeah.
It's like, are they a heel? Are they not? They're kind of somewhere in between.
Yeah, 50-50 fucking booking.
You know what? The human spirit is very complex.
All right, today we are talking about Chopping Mall, a.k.a. Killbots, from 1986.
And you know what? I wish I knew this before I watched the movie yesterday, but depending on whether you're watching Chopping Mall or Killbot, if you're at home, Killbot's the one to look for. Apparently, it's about 15 minutes longer.
Yeah, they chopped out a bunch of it before they did video release.
Yeah, and actually there's the TV release also has footage that's not in either, not available in any other form, so unfortunately, unless you recorded it off of your television, you've probably never seen it that way.
Wow.
Since none of us have ever seen it,
Yeah.
we
Yes,
don't know what
true.
we're missing.
That's right. I don't know what I'm missing. I thought about maybe buying the Vestron Blu-ray because they'll have all those extra features and stuff, but I wanted to know
for
if
those
it's
not keeping
extended.
track at home, Vestron is back putting out Blu-rays now.
Yeah, they're doing what Arrow and Scream Factory do with these deluxe sets of the stuff they used to make. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Some of this stuff I don't think I'd want to own, but I think I've got a couple of Vestrons in my collection now, and they're gorgeous collections.
Nice. Oh, Vestron. I remember that logo.
Yeah.
So like, oh yeah, I'm in for something interesting right
It's
now.
a staple of the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, that was the company. They're like, hey, wait a minute, everybody's licensing all these old horror. We could just do that,
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was
and
something.
they become this great boutique label.
That was something I didn't realize until I was watching the movie and the opening credits, but I did not realize Chopping Mall was a Roger Corman production.
Yes.
Roger Corman production. Well, it was produced through his studio, but he wasn't actually involved in this. He just basically said, yeah, I like it, let's do it. And it is actually produced by his wife,
Yep.
Julie. At this point,
They're a close
Roger,
team.
every time we do one of these, it's like, it's a Corman, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
we don't even try to link back to Corman Productions anymore because we've done so damn many of them.
Interestingly
he's,
enough, we
damn
do have a
prolific.
link to a Corman production in our cast as well.
Well, I mean, most of these came from similar productions, specifically the character of Mike, John Terlesky, who is the second Deathstalker.
Yes.
He was Deathstalker 2. In Deathstalker 2.
Oh, yeah, there's a litany of bad movies on all of these actors'
And that's
lists.
that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
best part is
Yeah.
that's why we keep hitting Cormans. There's
Yeah.
always some cool stuff in there, and we'll probably do Deathstalker someday.
You know, Deathstalker could be remade pretty easily. You know what else could be remade pretty easily? Chopping Mall.
Shopping Mall. Oh my God, you spent all week thinking of that segue, didn't you?
Nice.
Heel
No,
turn.
it comes naturally to some people.
And the coup begins.
Well, I should let them out for food and sunlight and stuff once in a while.
Yeah, sometimes it could get a little hangry.
Brains.
Brain
So
free.
this was everybody's first shot at this, right?
Yes.
You bet.
Yep.
A bit of a surprise, actually.
Yeah. Well, it was exactly what I was expecting.
Oh, yeah.
It was
And so much more.
terribly made, terribly shot, and there is some dumbass stuff in this movie.
Oh, my
yeah.
God.
You know what, Trish? Did you notice? Like, this is just the origin story of Short Circuit, except when
Yeah.
that bot got struck by lightning, it became really nice. These ones got struck by lightning, and not so nice.
Not so nice.
Not so nice.
And then Frankenstein got struck by lightning and just became misunderstood.
So we got a theme here. Essentially, what's happened in this movie is a mall has got an automated security force.
Which, yeah, out the gate, I'm like going, A, it's a mall. B, this seems like a big investment for a
You know
mall.
what? That's one thing that actually, like a little bit of historical context really helps for, because around 1986, as presumably most of you at home has already watched Stranger Things Season 3, which I feel Chopping Mall was a little bit of an influence on in their depiction of a mall. But yeah, around that mid-'80s period, malls were just huge. Like, they were exploding. They were, if you wanted to make money, you'd get in the mall business. And, watching the movie, malls today were like how they were in Chopping Mall. I would go to malls more.
That's something we're probably going to have to address because malls killed the small business. I mean, small business still exists, but in a lot of ways, it did diminish the amount of small businesses out there. And now Amazon and eBay and online shopping is killing them all. And malls are having to adapt by becoming almost attractions and destinations.
Yep.
Not just for the shopping, but hey, like the one down the street from me, it was starting to become a dirt mall. So they've renovated it. They've got a lot of outdoor access to the stores now. And they've got the Rec Room, which is a bar/arcade. For adults.
But there's spots for kids.
And outside, just outside the doors, is skydiving, indoor skydiving.
It's almost like when malls opened in the 80s, like they kind of had to attract people and be super big and extravagant, and then we just got used to them being places that you'd shop, and now they're having to like really be extravagant and exuberant again.
Well, remember West Edmonton Mall? Like when that opened, it was like, oh, go to West Edmonton Mall, go to like the Galaxyland.
Yeah, because there's a whole
go to
theme
the
park
water
in there.
park, go to
The ice rink.
the ice rink.
They had submarines that you could go down the mall.
The
in.
dolphins.
All very wrong now.
Yeah, nothing like a mall dolphin.
I know. Yeah, those dolphins didn't do
Oh,
so
man.
well.
Yeah,
I knew somebody who
dolphin.
worked
That's a
there.
good
They were
title.
very sad.
yeah. Well, I saw it. I had gone there when the dolphins were still there. It was very sad.
Yeah, the dolphins were not happy.
And they have a pirate ship in there.
Yep. See, they could have done more with that pirate ship. That's what always bothered me about it.
Yeah, the fact they didn't go anywhere, especially when they had all these submarines that did.
Yeah.
They had the waterway already there.
Yeah, they had the submarines underneath with like the little tracks going around the pirate ship. I'm like, but make a piratey thing happen there. Let us go on the pirate ship and be pirates.
Give us the Vegas experience.
Yeah, they'd give us like a Vegas style stage show
Yeah.
without letting you go on the boat.
Which is
I think
dumb.
they used to, but not within my lifetime.
No.
No.
Yeah. So malls have become attractions. We're going to have to address that a bit when we rethink this.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially what happens in this movie is a group of kids decide to stick around after work to fornicate.
Essentially,
And
which I don't
after
get.
the lightning strike, the bots are just killing everybody.
Oh, by the
So-
way, that lightning strike. One big note I had was that this movie is way more of a comedy than
Oh, yeah.
I think people even credit it for. Like, there's a lot of really good comedic writing, like the scene where the control
The lightning
box,
strike
it
doesn't.
strikes-
It's not once, not
Yeah,
twice, but
3
thrice.
times. So funny. The guy just the box controlling the robots gets struck by lightning. The guy slowly turns around. I actually turned around and my voice got quiet. The guy slowly turns around and nothing happens. Then the box gets struck again and he turns around and nothing happens. And the box gets struck again. And,
But he doesn't turn around.
Doesn't turn around. That was so hilarious.
Oh yeah, no. There's
Yeah.
a lot of like deliberate comedy in there, and then there's of course the unintentional comedy of just by the nature of the film. But they didn't lean into it as much as I would have liked, but they did definitely know that they were making something that was goofy and silly.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if I was to remake it, it would almost have to be just a straight comedy.
And there's several ways to go. I'm thinking darker, but that's how I often think.
Yeah, you're not a comedy guy.
Well, there's times I've actually pitched comedies. I mean, my one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Yeah,
was
we have to
pretty
paint
epic.
you in a corner to make you do comedies.
Yeah, well, it does. It happens, but from time to time. If it's not some weird formulaic thing, I'm in for it. I like a smart comedy. All right, well, I think we're going to run the trailer here, and we'll start really diving into this because there's some stuff to talk about.
Oh my god.
As the new security system, completely mobile, user-friendly, and absolutely fail-safe. But something is going wrong. Killbots.
There's another one of those things out there.
We need to pick us up one by one.
He ain't getting me.
living will never be the same. Killbots.
Okay, that was Chopping Mall from 1986, aka Killbots.
4 is such a short movie. They packed a lot in there.
They certainly did. At only 77 minutes, written and directed by Jim Wynorski, along with writer Steve Mitchell. Okay, Jim Wynorski, let's talk about him for a second.
Good Lord.
He's done some amazing movies, like Ghoulies 4. Not 3, not 2, not 1, but Ghoulies 4. Did you know there was a 4? I didn't.
Nope.
Return to the Swamp Thing, though. That one I did.
Do you remember that one?
Awesome.
It made a lot of sense when I saw that.
And some epics. Like, who could forget Piranaconda, Cobra Gator, and Sharkansas Women's Prison Massacre?
Actually, when I saw the title for that, props came up to
Sharks.
Sharkansas.
Sharks in Kansas and a women's in prison exploitation movie.
You know what?
Great, but you know what? These aren't the ones I know.
I
You know
hate
what?
the exploitation of sharks and women. I love sharks.
I knew
Deserve
Trish would
better.
have a problem with that. But you know what? I know. These aren't the movies that you might expect, and he does have ones that you will recognize, I'm sure. The Bear Wench Project,
Oh, God.
Witches of Breastwick,
Yep.
House on Hooter Hill, and The Hills Have Thighs.
Nice.
So,
He also directs
lots of porn parodies in there, too.
He also directs
Oh my God.
family movies where dogs are the main characters. That's what he's doing, presumably right now.
Yeah, when you're all out of exploitation and porn, you move over to pets.
There is a part in Chopping
Is
Mall
that-
where
is
one of
that-
the Killbots is chasing one of the girls, and they're in a pet store. And I was saying to Amelia, like, you know what? This right here is the nexus of this man's career. Like, dogs.
She just need to have no shirt on, and that would be it.
It would be.
Yeah, if her tits were out, then it
There's
would
just
be
a lot
the
of
entirety of
nudity,
it.
a lot of B-moviness, and there's also some dogs in there. So this guy definitely has 3 types.
The life cycle of this type of director.
That pet store scene was great too, because you actually have the real tarantulas crawling, and then it cuts, and when she gets back, you can just see these rubber things fall off of her.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Oh, that would be my demand.
I was really happy that she didn't get caught because she was more scared of tarantulas than she was a killer robot. So I was like,
Yeah, you almost expected that, but she was literally the last one alive. So,
Yeah.
so somebody had to live.
Well, she's the last one mobile.
Until the end.
Oh, well, until the end. There was one that was just injured. I suspect others should have survived, because there was some pretty unconvincing electrocutions.
Yeah, well, that's...
And that liquid wouldn't make that happen.
No, I just
all
want to
the
say,
voltage.
for a movie called Chopping Mall, there was no chopping.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
Not
you.
one. Not one.
That's what I was saying
That
to,
bothered me so much.
to Leah, who was been on the podcast before when we were watching it. But it's like, hey, what did you think of the movie? Like, well, it had everything I expected. It had. Wait, there wasn't chopping in that movie.
I know. Like, I was expecting, Robot Wars, there's always like that one robot with an axe on it. I expected that.
There you go.
See, and when I was watching it, I couldn't help but think of RoboCop. I just
Yes.
saw like this being the happening at
head
the
is
same
a-
time where they've rented out their first sort of prototypes for their version of the RoboCop, the fully automated version, and they've gone bad here too. It's happening simultaneously.
I actually, my new name for this was Robo Mall Cop.
Robo Malcolm.
Yeah, Robo Cop. That's really good.
It was so obvious.
Yes.
Blart, Robo Mall Cop.
Oh, no, don't give him a sequel.
Which sequel? That would make it a
There's
trilogy.
been 2. Yeah, it's a trilogy.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just like I didn't know there were 4 Ghoulies.
You know,
We're
I
learning
haven't
stuff
seen
today.
it, but I've heard that the second Paul Blart Mall Cop was paid for by a casino and is an advertisement for said casino.
Oh, dear
Oh,
God.
nice. Of course.
Speaking of, I do have an amendment to an episode 2 weeks ago when we remade Stephen King's.
Maximum Overdrive.
There actually is a remake of that, and I didn't know.
Yeah, I found it
yeah.
after you guys
we did.
recorded.
I mean, nothing's to say we can't remake something that had a remake. It was a TV one, so it technically fell outside of our rules.
Yes.
But if you want to check out this TV low budget, it still had an R rating, but it's called Trucks, and you can find it on Amazon Prime Video. So if you want to check it out, but
Well, we do concentrate
I think-
on one's theatrical release.
yeah, but you know what? We had a lot of fun remaking that, so fuck it. I can break my own rules.
I think we did a better job.
I think so. Without ever having seen trucks, I'm sure we did a better job.
Speaking of doing a better job, I did read that there is, since 2015, in development, a chopping mall sequel.
Oh my
Actually,
God.
since 2011.
Since 2011.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's supposed to be more supernatural, which I don't know if it's that's the direction I would go.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not thinking supernatural either.
No, this is a technological nightmare, and it
No.
should be
I mean,
that.
Yeah.
one of the strong points of the movie was the whole, technology run amok aspect.
Yeah.
I think they, unlike another mall movie we have done, Dawn of the Dead,
Yes.
this had this great opportunity to be a commentary on consumerism that just, you don't see it anywhere in the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's part of its downfall, is it doesn't really have anything to say. It's just an exploitation movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. And keeping in mind that the movie is only 77 minutes long, an hour and 17 minutes.
This podcast will be longer.
You're watching it, and they fill a lot of time in that movie with just general nudity or
Yeah.
general scenes.
Oh yeah,
of things
nothing
that are just there
really
to
happens
extend
until
the
about
runtime.
half an hour in,
Half an
because
hour.
you're introducing the large cast, and really not very well.
No.
Because
Yeah.
it took
I
me
know
a while
nothing
to
about them.
figure the names. That one married couple has a shop there somewhere. I don't know what
They
shop
do
it was.
tune-ups. It's like this mall. I've never seen this group of items of stores in one mall. But yeah, they do tune-ups.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do at the mall. I can see that being an offshoot of the Canadian Tire at the end of the mall. That's about all I've ever seen. They do pack a line, but it's still kind of, in places it dragged. In my notes, I wish this movie was more over.
I had a really good
a
time,
certain
but
point.
it's definitely one of those movies that's primed to be remade.
Yeah.
Where there's enough stuff in it that's good, but most of it is generally a missed opportunity.
All right, let's get into the cast here. Starring Kelly Maroney as Allison. She was in Fast Times in Ridgemont High. Tony O'Dell was Ferdy Measle. He was in the first two Karate Kids and returned for the YouTube series Cobra Kai.
That's where I know him from.
There you go. Yeah, because you mentioned that to me all the time. So I didn't even know it was a YouTube series until recently.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is this Cobra Kai she keeps talking about? Because I know it because there's a comic book coming out. And I'm like, oh, they're doing a comic book sequel to Karate Kid. That's weird. But I didn't. I'm like, how did you know about it? So now it's all starting to come together. Old Man Jay. Carrie Emerson was Linda. She was in Evils of Night. That was the best thing she did. But everybody should know Barbara Crampton. She was in here. And
Yeah, Barbara Crampton is easily
still
the most
working in
iconic
horror.
person in that cast.
No. I got one. I got one better. I got a couple better. But Barbara Crampton's definitely an icon of horror, major scream queen, reanimator, and more recent movies like You're Next. She's been very active. I talked about her in Puppet Master, The Last Reich, or something.
Lilith Reich.
Lilith Reich in 31 Days of Horror last year.
And
And
then
I
there was
talked
that
about You're
Beyond the
Next, too.
Gates, where she was the character in the video game.
Yeah, so she's been around and is just kept working for all this time, unlike a lot of these people. Nick Segal was Greg. He was in School Spirits. John Terlesky was Mike, and of course I mentioned he was in Deathstalker 2 as Deathstalker, and he actually was talked about being the lead in this one, and then they moved him over to the jock character, which suits him well. Every scene, he's chewing gum. Drove me nuts.
Yeah,
And had his shirt off a lot.
yeah, and I have.
Well, a lot of them did.
Yeah, fair enough.
I
Especially
have
the
a note
ladies.
as we get into the movie about that.
Susie Slater was Leslie. She was in, we're going to do this someday because it's a cult comedy, Real Men. That one is one of my favorites, a John Ritter movie.
And Jim Belushi.
Jim Belushi.
Yeah.
And Jeff, our friend Rich, would probably string us up if we didn't mention that she was also in Savage Streets.
Oh, very nice. That's true.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Paul Bartel was Paul Bland, along with Mary Warnox, who was Mary Bland. Paul Bartel, we've talked about a couple of times. I don't know if Sam caught this.
I caught one of them, not two.
Okay, well, episode 140,
That is the one I missed.
Eat My Dust.
Oh,
We
well,
remade that
damn.
one. And he was in 148, another Corman movie.
Yeah, Piranha.
Piranha. Mary Warnox was in Warlock. I love Warlock.
Yeah, what a great movie.
And Death Race 2000. We will do that someday,
As
guys.
was Paul Bartel and one of the other cast members that you're going to mention.
Yeah,
These three were in a lot of movies together.
For sure. One of the famous faces in this movie is a short cameo by Dick Miller.
Oh, yeah.
As Walter. I mean, he's been in quite a few things we've talked about. Episode 12.
Used Cars.
Episode 55.
Missed that one.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh,
That's what I was
also,
thinking.
Oh, I
Did you
didn't
catch
miss that, and then I forgot to write
He
it
was
down.
in the original
Shop of
one.
Horrors.
Did you
Yep.
catch the name of the pet shop and shopping mall, by the way?
I did, but I've forgotten
It
already.
was Roger's Little Shop of Pets.
There you go. There's lots of little nods in there to things like that, which I kind of appreciate. Also in 148 Piranha.
Yep.
Garrett Graham was the technician Nestler who gets killed.
Yeah.
Well, both technicians get killed, and he was also in Used Cars.
Cars.
Yep.
Blink and you'll miss him because I sure did, but Angus Scrim is
What?
in this movie as well. Maybe he's in a cutscene, but he was actually in the cast list, so I thought I'd bring that up. 'cause
I definitely didn't
Phantasm.
notice Angus
He's
Scrim.
a big, tall guy, so he was either sitting in that crowd at the beginning or he's just cut out.
I
But
think he's cut.
they actually call him Dr. Carrington. I'm like,
Oh, then
there's
he's
a
cut.
doctor?
Yeah,
he was
that's-
cut,
Yeah,
yeah.
he must be in the
Must be
original
in Killbots.
Killbots cut. Yeah.
And there's one more connection to Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
Mel Wells is also in this.
Oh, okay. I didn't write it down.
Yeah. So that was episode 55, as you mentioned. Yeah.
But I wanted to mention too, you said Kelly Maroney, and this reminded me, I was like, I knew I'd seen her before. She's in Night of the Comet with also a very extended scene in a mall.
Yeah, which we just rewatched. Interestingly enough, and a lot of this cast is actually in there. Mary Warnov's in it. Paul Bartel's in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that share a lot of movies together here,
Yeah.
and they're mostly Carmen flicks.
Yeah, well, and I think like Dick Miller, Mary Warnov, and Paul Bartel were sort of like this, almost like a theater group. Like they sort of came as a package in a lot of cases.
I think so, yeah.
Because and they were, I think they obviously were all friends. Cause
Well, I mean, good luck trying to watch an 80s movie without Dick Miller.
well, exactly, right. Or Paul Bartel, or
for that matter, yeah.
or Mary Warnov. I mean, interesting tidbit. Paul Bartel and Mary Warnov were in the very first video we watched on our first VCR at home. They were in Eating Raoul. That was, believe it or not, that was the very first
Nice.
thing my parents played on our VCR and let me watch. I was 13 years old and seeing
Oh my
Eating
God.
Raoul. Probably not appropriate, but I have pretty liberal parents.
But the thing about, I think they're in there because Eating Raoul is supposed to be shared in this universe.
I'm probably, yeah, it has that same kind of bonkers feel.
Shopping mall and Eating Raoul.
Yeah, and they're both in one of my favorite movies. It is Rock and Roll High School, still a classic movie for me, as far as I'm concerned. And I love the fact that as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, I love these guys.
Okay, let's get into this movie a
Yes.
little
Oh, well,
bit. 'Cause it's-
there's one more major cast member.
Oh, okay.
The mall itself.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
the
yeah,
mall
yeah, 'cause
itself.
it was in-
Commando.
It was at
Yeah.
Sherman Oaks Galleria.
I think they were shooting Commando around the same time.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
Commando was getting the days, and these guys were getting the nights. And the security guy did not like these guys coming in, whereas the mall guy, the guy who actually owned the mall, was very friendly and supportive of the project. So
I read that they had to shoot it. Well, this is a standard thing that you would do, shooting in malls at night anyway. But
Yeah.
have to make sure that it doesn't look like you're shooting a movie.
yeah,
for
you have
the
to
day.
put everything back to the way
Yeah.
it was.
But watching the movie, it's like they had a decent amount to clean up, especially that paint scene.
Yeah,
Oh my
and I mean
God,
you got to do your shoot and still clean it up before mall opens. So you're not all that's going into shoot time.
And that has got to wreak havoc with continuity.
Oh, for sure. Well, when you're watching in the movie, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, they certainly had all sorts of problems keeping consistent sound. The sound editing is atrocious, and the sound design is atrocious. I love what.
Although the soundtrack is
I love
great.
the soundtrack's pretty good. I love when Mike says, "Oh, damn, you guys are quiet." I'm like, "No, you're not."
No.
Like you can fucking hear them a mile away, especially in that opening bit when they're introducing them, and the thing only moved up an inch. I'm like, "Good God, they're loud."
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
then-
how
but
were they sneaking up on
But
people?
it was right behind him in dead silence at that particular moment in time somehow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like consistency, yeah. Not an issue for this movie.
Yeah, no.
I will admit I was definitely not keeping continuity notes while I was watching this movie.
Oh, you can't. You would never be able to watch
No.
the movie. It would be like 4 hours of your life trying to just watch the movie and taking notes.
Like this movie
It's
was
only 77
full of
minutes.
general bemusement with maybe some chuckles and there's somebody else's boobs. That's basically a chopping mall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these two guys, Mike and Greg, are trying to set up their friend Ferdy, who's kind of the handsome nerd.
Ah, that old chestnut.
Meanwhile, the same's kind of happening with the female side. You got the two pretty girls trying to hook up their
Other
friend
Yeah.
with
And
Ferdy.
then this married couple for some reason that's in there.
There's a married couple that's in there too, or like that just kind of shows up. Like they have their little intro. You see them getting down somewhere else in the mall,
No, they're
Yeah,
in
he's
at that
the-
party.
or were they?
Was
Or
he the
they?
security
It was
guard?
basically an orgy.
That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking. Like, why?
Except for Ferdy and Allison, who were watching some crab monster thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Which was obviously a Roger Corman film.
Yeah.
Well, what's weird is they're talking about, like, we have to make sure everything's, like, all back in place, otherwise we'll get in trouble. And I'm, like, going, dude, it's Friday night. I'm like, it's a mall. It's open early Saturday morning. Don't you know how malls work?
Yeah, that was another note that Leah had, where it's like, oh, all of these people making Friday night plans, but they all work at a mall. That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're all here. Let's just fuck here.
I know. It's
It's like,
like,
oh,
when,
instead of driving home and having to be back for 8 a.m., let's just,
yeah. Like, I mean, if you're gonna party in the mall and you're worried about getting caught because you have to clean up, no, Saturday's a big shopping day. What's wrong with you?
I don't know if you've hit any. Well, everybody here's worked
honestly,
retail.
if you want to sell a bed,
No.
if they can hold up,
Yeah, but maybe that's the whole thing is, well, we can't afford to go out to a bar and like that, so we're bringing beer, and we've got this place where we can watch movies on a big screen TV because we can't afford a big screen TV our own.
yeah. Well,
Right. I
80s,
sleep on a single
80s
bed.
big screen
Yeah.
TV.
Well,
so
you know what I'm saying, though, right?
About 25
Yeah.
inches.
There's actually, you know what? There's a lot to be said that context adds a lot to how you would rate this movie.
Yeah.
Well, if you could shift it to, like, here's the thing. Even if you could just shift it to Saturday night, most malls opened later on Sundays. So this would make more sense then.
But don't forget that they're planning to be gone before lockdown happens, right?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
basically, they've got
Which
a-
happens at 10, so they have an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not good planning, right?
No.
But
They suck. These are stupid people.
now you've brought up reminded me of another huge flaw in this movie is typically malls have cleaning crews overnight,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
Which is why
a
Dick
guy even
Miller's
mentions
there.
that at the beginning of the movie. He was like, hey, I'm a janitor. I clean at night.
But where are they in this movie?
There's that one guy.
Dick
Well, those
Miller.
Oh, that's right. There's Dick Miller. Yeah,
Yeah,
And-
Dick Miller was still cleaning where the other guys were taking off, making
Yeah.
fun of him. So,
Yeah.
Which I have an idea for him. Because I kind of want to turn mine, have a little bit of a mystery behind why this is happening. No more lightning. Lightning's gone.
No, but I just want to mention the fact that this is the second week in a row that we've talked about robots gone bad.
Yes.
True. We've actually done this year's
Or three.
for all
Actually, if you really think about
Yeah.
it, 'cause
for all
back in
the for all the horror. We've had a lot of technology gone awry
Yeah.
episodes this year.
Oh, see, and I
Interesting.
look at this as like a spiritual prequel to Chucky. Like, this is how they started.
This is the mall he came from.
Yeah. Yeah, the guys who made these robots eventually went into the toy business.
same company.
wait, which,
we're creating our own universe. We've got
Yeah.
RoboCop, we've got Killbots,
Although
and
in,
we've got
in Chucky, it was a serial killer who did black magic. Unless you're talking about the new
remake.
You're
one.
talking about the new one, yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And those dolls were transported by a truck with
Yeah.
a giant green goblin face. So I got it all together.
Yeah.
I can
do.
tie all this shit
We
together.
can.
I think the only
universe.
episode we can't tie in is the Wolfman episode.
There's Wolfman dolls on the truck. Done.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that.
Benicio del Toro was driving the truck.
What was that restaurant in the mall that just had movie posters up? All Corman movie posters.
Oh, you know what? Not just movie posters for Corman movies, because I was really curious about those posters. They were all specifically by the same director.
Oh, okay. I didn't get a chance to really look into the posters, but I that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
why I'd
I was
never
like,
heard
those are
of
some
most of
snazzy looking
them.
posters. So I looked up
With
the
that
movies.
restaurant-
Not snazzy looking movies.
No,
The restaurant with the cook who's wiping his spatula on his fucking shirt. That
Yeah.
place would never have stayed open more
not
than
in
a
a
day.
mall. No, like that. You'd find that at a greasy truck stop in Maximum Overdrive.
Exactly.
And I
That'd be
do
so
really
funny
wish
if he's like, the cook there is like going, I once worked at this truck stop, and then all hell broke loose.
I also think this mall has a weird thing with gravity because people fall down and have a real tough time getting back up again. I'm thinking
Yes.
Walter's really good at waxing those floors.
No kidding.
Even if you can't get up, roll right, roll left.
There was a lot of times where the hair, like the last surviving woman from the movie, there was more than once where in a scene transition, she's like army style crawling on the floor, like to get away.
I get your legs hurt, but
Well, that was a throwback, though. That was a throwback to her, that whole line where my dad's a Marine.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's the only reason that she was able to do it. And that's the only reason she was doing it. I mean, because who was her dad that made her learn how to do it, mind you?
yeah, that's daddy-daughter stuff, right?
But yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Also, I do love
They teach
how
you to
all of
shoot,
these
they teach you
robots,
shit.
by the way, are, top of the line. They're like, this is the future. We're living in it. But also they have Stormtrooper aim.
Yeah.
There's a lot of laser
They
bolts
have
going nowhere.
lasers.
Yeah, okay. These bots are not supposed to be lethal. They say at the beginning of the movie they're armed with like fast-acting sleep darts and tasers, that sort of thing, and then they've got basic grabbing tools for arms.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, where do the fucking lasers come from?
Exactly.
If they're not lethal, why do they have lasers?
Well, and
It's like in Chucky. While we asked, why is there a violence portion
all
of
of
the
these
programming?
things, these things on their visors, all it should be able to do is read a UPC code
Yes. Yep.
for the people that work late, and that's all it really needs to do, other than
that's
basic
why I was
cameras
thinking,
for the security guy who's monitoring the technician
Yeah,
room.
I
If you
totally
were to
agree.
do a
That's a big
remake,
flaw.
like if you were going to go the robot route again, what I was expecting was here's a bunch of non-lethal weapons that something can have, and here are all the lethal ways they can use them. And I feel like that was an idea that they had that got as far as we need to think of ways to kill people with non-lethal things, and then just threw it out
and
the window.
they stayed true to that for the first kill when they killed Mike.
Yeah.
Right, because he tranquilized him, and then he used his claw hand to.
Well, technically,
Cut it.
he was the third kill because
Third kill, yeah.
they'd killed the two
Two tech guys.
technicians similarly.
Which
Yes.
they both used their arms for, which made sense. I
Yeah.
could get behind that. But the other thing about too is what they can use, like those sleep darts. An overdose of that sleep dart would kill somebody.
Absolutely.
And that would make for a great scene, just seeing these darts just fire into somebody over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the Susie's head blowing up, that was pretty cool. After that, everybody else was electrocuted or fell from a height.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
height.
No chopping.
No chopping.
chopping.
Not a single chopping.
See, they have grabbers. Why aren't they grabbing something to chop with?
Budget. And that's why most of these deaths happen off scene, is because they spent all their money on the fucking robots.
Yeah.
And that one head blowing up scene. And then that was it. That was their special effects budget.
Because I guess we've been talking about Roger Corman a lot. Obviously, this movie didn't have very much of a budget.
No, of course not.
No.
It's a Corman production.
Exactly.
I had to laugh when they were rigging up the propane tanks as explosives because it
Yeah.
reminded me of our spot on Mike and Oscar
Yep.
when you go for the propane tank. So I'm like, well, this is a lot funnier because of our spot. But
Actually, I love how much time, too, that they dedicate towards people preparing to fight the robots for how often that they don't use any of the things that they
Oh
make.
my
Well,
god!
and they know the guns don't fucking work, but they keep shooting at them.
Yes.
Or they're just like, hey, how do you know how to make these gasoline things with regs in them?
yeah, they're basically Molotov
They're
cocktails.
yeah.
basically, and
You're
they're-
not
Except-
stupid.
Except they
throw-
slid them on the floor.
They slid them on the floor,
and then they
use
exploded.
one.
Yeah,
There's
that
probably
doesn't make
10
sense.
minutes of this movie dedicated to them making them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which would be cool if they actually
Use
worked.
them. Yes.
Or used them,
Yeah.
See,
Well, yeah, the propane tank you would have thought would have worked, and then it only kind of inconvenienced the bot until it righted itself.
well, and that was the whole thing. Part of it, I'm like going, get rid of the treads. Then those suckers can't go anywhere.
That's actually, when she was pouring paint all over the ground, by the way, don't buy paint from that paint store.
No.
If your house catches on fire, it's going to blow up.
Yeah, it's all like super flammable.
But yeah, when she was pouring the paint on the floor and its treads got stuck, it's like that's the first smart.
Well, I
thinking
just
anyone
assumed it
does.
was turpentine that
Like I was
threw
hoping she was
down.
mixing it up so that the turpentine would stick to the bot. I thought that's what was happening.
Yeah. Because she threw down a lot of paint for the slickness.
Yeah.
And then she threw down something that was flammable,
Yeah.
but
Like
then the
floor
whole
cleaner,
place
paint
went up.
thinner.
FYI, one of
Yeah.
the things I've not seen in a mall, unless it's at the Canadian Tire at the end, is a paint store.
Oh, I've seen paint stores in malls before.
I've seen art stores. I have not seen paint stores.
in back in the 80s, it was fairly common. It's
Yeah.
just not recently.
I feel like, obviously I wasn't around, but in the 80s, malls were a lot more like department stores in terms of what they had than they were like now, where we live in a very media-based shopping world.
Well,
I like that guy who at the beginning who was stealing the records, and
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that little sequence of
I think
life
that
at
was
the mall
actually
was
the
really good.
director, from what I understood.
wow.
That was the director stealing those records.
But yeah, so like even when I grew up though, like it was the big department stores were on the end. Like there was Sears,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
you'd
can
have
see
a
that.
Canadian Tire, you'd have Eaton's,
The Bay.
and
Most
those
of
were
which
on the
aren't around anymore.
edges.
For the Americans, it would be like Kmart and
Target.
Target.
Target,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, like those were,
JCPenney.
but those were
JCPenney.
the only kind of areas where you would find the stuff that were like those small stores in the mall. Like the hardware store wouldn't be there; it would be the one of those big guys.
The anchor stores, yeah.
The paint again would be one of the anchor stores. A gun store, no anchor store.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
in-
Americans actually have guns within their big block stores, like Walmart and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, like there's
Yeah.
the Bass Pro Shop type of deal where you
Yeah.
can get that. I know, I get that, but I would think it would be in the big Kmart store rather than just its own store.
In the 80s, you would have seen more of these boutique stores inside the mall, though. Like, it actually made sense.
Yeah. And keep in
context
mind,
with the movie.
this was a real mall. Those were real stores.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure there were some that were mocked up, but, I mean, they look so bad because they're so 80s and cheap looking.
Oh, yeah.
I think the only thing that probably didn't exist was that restaurant.
Possibly the pet store.
See, I think the restaurant, that's the weird thing. The restaurant to me made sort of some sense because you'd had things like Moxie's or things that were like
Yeah.
restaurants within the mall.
Oh, maybe they did have a diner in there because, I mean,
Yeah.
they probably didn't have the budget to build the whole
Like a pizza
cooking
place?
area.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I remember malls in the 80s having restaurants in them. Right?
Oh, well, I mean, they still do, but
Right, even in
they're
Fast Times they have
nicer
one.
ones.
I
Yeah.
think there's
Oh,
that
by the way, same mall, Fast
Yep.
Times.
Yep, I could tell.
I think
Yeah.
the one thing I missed is maybe I just blinked too much and missed it, but the lack of like they didn't do anything in a like actual food court.
Yeah, no, that's
You know,
true.
I feel like in the footage at the
Didn't see the food
very,
court.
very beginning, a little bit before
Oh,
they
there
had
was-
all of the Miss USA type bikinis.
Oh yeah, there's
contests.
something
Weird.
that takes
I
place
feel
in
like
a food
there
court.
was a shot that was in a food court at the
Yeah.
very beginning.
Yeah, but they never do anything
No.
there. That's what
Yeah.
bothered me. I'm like, it's the food court.
Well,
Everybody knows. The
I'm
food
guessing they tried to avoid getting a lot of clearances for places. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing some of these places, the stores itself, probably were staged because they were empty lots
Or they put new signs over the door
over
them.
the ones that were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the pet store.
Yeah. So trying to get clearances or covering up an entire food court would have been too costly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as far as I can remember, there wasn't any actual businesses displayed.
No, they
which
all
would
looked
have had
fake.
to pay
yeah.
for.
Actually, Florsheim Shoes was in there.
Oh,
I actually caught that. I'm like, wow, they've been around for a long time.
And you figured they would have got more money if they could have, like, hey, we'll plug your store in here if you let us
Yeah.
show it, rather than try to pay for the clearance. You just
And
exchange
that may
it
have been
as
what
free
happened with Florsheim
advertising.
is they were like, oh yeah, go ahead, put us in there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
free advertising.
it's a little bit of a interesting demographic to advertise to.
Very, yeah.
Everybody needs shoes.
I think we've kind of covered the film.
Not really. If we
No,
clicked
no,
around.
no,
it.
I mean,
I really need
There's
to
not much to cover though.
No, there's people getting attacked by robots after they had sex.
See,
The
I
script
just-
for this movie is pretty thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I really need to dig into the thought process behind furniture store orgy. I just can't. I can't get
I have
there.
an idea on how
happens after
to
malls
to
close?
I mean,
fix that.
I've worked retail. I've had sex at said retail. So, I mean, I get it. I've never had an orgy in said retail store. That's a little further than I've gone. But
No.
sex at work, not a strange thing. I'm sure a lot of you out there have done it.
or would do it if you had the opportunity.
Or would.
Everybody who is currently a member of this podcast who has put up their hands, and then everybody at home, it's going to be a mystery forever.
You're never gonna know.
Well, I've already admitted to it, so. Okay, you know what? I've got some thoughts about this, but so do some friends of ours as well.
Ooh.
We've got Indy and Samantha from I Love This, and You Should Too, as well as Chris and Amanda from Transmissions from the Evil Lair. So this is part of our All the Horror contributions, and let's hear what they have to say, and we'll get into our thoughts right after.
hello out there, Internet. Ooh, this is fun. So my name is Indy Randawa, and with me is Samantha Hughes.
Hello.
We host a podcast called I Love This, You Should Too, but today we're going to be talking about the cinematic piece of genius that is Chopping Mall.
I think you might have been going a little hard on the praise.
So this kind of works for us because the way our podcast works is Samantha and I have very different tastes in everything, I'd say. But
I'd say so.
We talk about movies and we take turns bringing a movie to the other person, something that they haven't seen, something they're not familiar with, something that they think they would probably hate. Then we watch it together and convince them why they should love it. So in the past, what are some movies that you brought to me?
Bring It On, Bride Wars.
Right.
And Titanic.
Right. And then I got you to watch things like My Neighbor Totoro, Blade Runner, The Shining. So we have, pretty different tastes.
Very different tastes.
But the reason Chopping Mall works pretty well for us is I've been trying to get you to watch more horror movies, and I introduced you to the concept of watching a movie that you knew was bad when making fun of it and having fun with those types of movies, which was kind of foreign to you before this.
Yeah, I think I'm warming to the idea now. I'm getting it.
And that is where Chopping Mall comes in.
Yes, it does.
So, let's start at the beginning. Do you have what's your overall take on Chopping Mall?
Well, this movie is clearly from another decade.
Yes, it is. So you were technically alive in the 80s for a little bit.
For like 2 years.
Yeah, but you don't really have a grasp of the 80s.
No, the 90s were what I kind of remember, and the 2000s were where I really came into my prime.
That's where you peaked?
Yes.
So I, although was a child, I remember the 80s. And let me tell you something. That's what they were like. It was just big hair, full briefs.
Sex in a department mall.
Sex in shopping malls and robots.
Really?
Yeah, that's all we did.
Like, you're not that much older than I am.
But 4-year-old Indy was running around shopping malls and
in full briefs. With robots.
Wearing jeans and no shirt because that's the way to do it in a shopping mall.
Apparently.
But malls were definitely a big thing of the 80s. That's where you'd go. That's the social
malls
hub.
Malls as a hangout for sure.
Did you ever work in a mall?
Yes, I
So then you know about how you just go to find a bed and like make out on it.
I worked in a store with a bed, actually.
Yeah, and you made out on it all the time.
I did not. I worked in an old lady store, and we sold sheets and nightgowns that went to the floor like the old lady in Titanic. I think I owned maybe one piece of clothing from there.
Hopefully it was some real high-waisted pants like they wear in shopping mall.
They were actually white high-waisted underwear, but
that would fit in shopping mall.
They went like all the way up to my shoulders, though.
I think what you're thinking of is a bathing suit.
That's what it was.
All right, we're wasting everyone's time. Let's talk about shopping mall.
Okay.
So what I did like, right off the beginning, it was ridiculous, and there's that montage right before the titles, or during the titles, and I thought it was going to have a much better sense of humor and be sillier. The longer the movie goes on, the less outrightly silly it gets, and the more it seems...
Serious?
The less it seems like they're in on the joke, and the more the movie becomes the joke.
Yes.
It was ridiculous.
It was absolutely ridiculous with all the robot noises.
The longer the movie went on, the more angry I got. I can't remember the last time I told a TV to shut up so many times.
You did tonight.
But it's a very noisy movie. First of all, like the sound design is terrible because the dialogue would be super quiet, and then you'd have that same music going over and over through the whole movie.
Yeah, there was no change in score at all during this.
And then the whirring of the robots drove me crazy. And the worst is, one at a time. Okay, we got it. At one point, someone turns to the robot and says, "Whoa, you bastards are quiet." No, they're not.
They're
the loudest thing ever.
I liked the difference between the colors of laser beams in this movie.
Oh, were there different colors?
Yeah, so there were pink ones.
Right.
That kind of just bounced off of the people.
Yeah.
And then there were blue ones that drew blood.
A pink one can singe your clothes, it can kind of sting you, or it can make your head blow up.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem right.
So what you're saying is there's no continuity in this movie?
Would it shock you to know that I've seen Chopping Mall 3 times?
Not at all. Not even remotely.
Actually, and yet, having seen it 3 times, I don't know anyone's names or what's going on, really.
Well, Susie was the screamy one. That's in my notes.
Oh, I was so happy she died. She was just shrieking and shrieking, and then she falls on the floor. There's a robot very slowly approaching her, and she just continues to yell and scream. Just get up. Shut up and get up. Both of those things.
You need a shirt that says that.
Shut up and get up.
Yeah.
But instead, she got shut down and got down. No, that doesn't work as well.
No, she got shut down and died.
Yeah, that's getting down.
And set on fire. No, they were getting
down with the afterlife.
They were getting down at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
In the same room of the department. It's not even like, you'd imagine that like a home department store would have multiple bedroom areas.
Nope, they're just all going in one room. That's their thing. That's what they like.
Is that what happens at like teenager parties?
Yep. At teenager parties. And also at teenager parties, they all refer to them as teenager parties.
That's what I thought.
Yep. Who was your favorite character in this movie?
I think the married girl in the red plaid shirt.
Oh, yeah. What's her characteristic?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, none of them have any.
She seemed like the calmest person.
That's true. No, the girl who, like, wins at the end. She was pretty calm.
Is there a winner in this movie?
Yeah, because she killed the last robot. And then her prospective boyfriend comes back from the dead with a roll of toilet paper pressed against his head. You know who my least favorite was that gum chewing guy.
I was literally about to say that. Gum chewing guy was my least favorite person in this entire movie. And there was like 10 minutes of just still shots of his face chewing gum.
Yeah, he was going to town on that gum. He was chewing that gum like he was chewing that scenery. He also, I think, is a graduate from the Jim Carrey School of Face Acting.
Oh, yeah.
He does a lot of face work.
There's a lot of facial expressions. Yeah. I want to go to a party in a department store. I think that seems like fun.
Actually, yeah, that sounds like really...
If it was guaranteed it wasn't going to end up us all dying by robot, I would totally go to a department store.
Well, Samantha, no one can ever make that guarantee. Oh my god, look up behind you!
Ah!
That would be a great place to end this whole thing. Did you have a favorite part of this movie?
When the nerdy girl in the pink sweater pulls the flare out of her bra and then somehow starts the entire paint store on fire.
Yeah, because paint is mostly made of explosives.
Yeah, not just highly flammable, but also just made 90% of explosives.
I love that one part. Near the beginning, they're making out and the guy says, "You smell like pepperoni."
Oh my god, yes.
And then she gets angry, but he says, "Oh, but I like pepperoni." And then she proceeds to kind of hum and just lower her top. It was very bizarre.
Yes, and she had 2 kinds of lace top on.
Yeah, because you go on a double up when you do that.
Yes, it's true. The humming was very awkward and was probably one of my least favorite parts of the movie. And she was also kind of doing a sexy dance while humming, and I just didn't really understand what her whole, like, vibe
what she was going for there. No, nobody did. She didn't. Overall, would you recommend people watch Chopping Mall?
If you're getting ready to go out for a Halloween evening, you can turn this on and get ready for your night.
You know what? This would be a good movie for a drinking game or something.
True.
Every time you hear really loud robot noises, you have to drink. And you would get
screams,
wrecked.
you do a shot.
Goodness, yeah. And every time you see some chopping in a movie called Chopping Mall, you finish your drink. How many times did you see chopping?
None.
Yeah, why is it called Chopping Mall?
Because it's a play on the word shopping.
No, I understand that it's a play on the word shopping. But if there was like an axe-wielding maniac and they called it Chopping Mall, I'd be like, oh yeah, because it's a play on shopping and he chops people. That makes sense.
Right.
They kind of pinch and shoot. You can't do a play on words if you only get half of it.
True. Okay. But
That's like they could have called it Shopping Call. Get it? It's a play on Shopping Mall. But then you'd say, well, there's no calling. And be like, yeah, well, there's no chopping either. Makes just as much sense.
Touché. Well, do you recommend it to people?
Yeah, you know what? It's fun. Don't go into it and thinking like this is a good movie. Don't sit there and watch it by yourself, because that would be so sad. But, hang out with a friend, have a drinking game or something like that. It's ridiculous. Get ready to turn the sound up and down as you need to, because the sound mix is terrible.
The robots get real loud, and then the talking is really quiet.
Yeah. But yeah, go check it out. And you know what else you should go check out? Check out our podcast. It's
I
called
love this. You should too.
There you go. She's on it. Well, thanks for having us. And back to you.
Back to you.
Hey everybody, what's up? This is Chris and Amanda from Transmissions from the Evil Lair, which you can find on evilgeeks.com.
Oh, we just watched a really great movie. It is called Shopping Mall. Yay!
Yeah, we literally just finished the 77-minute experience that is Shopping Mall.
Which is standing at a solid 3.5 stars on Amazon Prime. What?
We've had that picture up, like, the menu on for like a minute or two. And I did not notice the star rating until now. That's 3.5 out of 5 stars.
That's generous, I would say. Also, the tagline of the movie, where shopping costs you an arm and a leg.
Oh, hilarious 80s comedy. This movie was pretty much Paul Blart Roomba Cop.
Yeah, it was. That's pretty true.
Yeah.
So apparently in the 80s, everyone was afraid of robots. That's what I learned. And I'm pretty sure all of these protagonists in this movie were, like, I think the men were all played by the one same white guy.
I'm pretty sure it's the same generic white dude, like, who got killed at least 3 or 4 times.
They just put glasses and, like, different outfits on him, and they were, like, expected us not to notice.
Also, I mean, aside from the whole question of killer robots, my biggest question is, have I spent my entire life on this planet completely unaware of orgies taking place in shopping malls?
Yeah, I don't understand
hours?
that either. Like, as somebody who worked in a mall for a long period of time...
Yeah,
like,
I worked in a mall for years. Not one fuck party that I've ever been to.
I mean, was I just not friends with the right people? Like, I don't understand. But, like, also, I was saying this while we were watching the movie. Like, when you spend that much time in a mall, the last place you want to be
is the mall.
The mall, when you're done.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's your own fucking fault for having an orgy in the mall past hours.
But oh boy, like I don't even know where to begin with this. I mean, it's as far as like standard 80s horror, like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cheesy horror, but like, I don't know, I've seen way worse than this.
Yeah, definitely I've seen worse films.
I would still even say the episode of American Horror Story that we just watched was worse than this.
Yeah, I will agree with that. This is like right up there with like peak 80s mall culture.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a decision of like, what's popular right now? Like malls, robots, and horror movies. Like, how do we, like, put these all together?
All I could think about the entire time while watching it is that the one girl with black hair looked like Robin Sparkles, and it was like, let's go to the mall, but like horror, make it horror.
Yeah.
Because the robot was there and everything.
And not to cast aspersions, on anyone's status or anything, but like the girl with the black hair and the one guy were married and owned like some kind of car repair business or something, like they was working in the mall. Like they were working in the mall. But if they're like A, married, and B, own their own business, how did they not have their own apartment or house or any place where they could have held this party?
This orgy, this mall orgy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it would have been... the other thing was, I feel like these robots posed more of a threat than has made sense to me, because like I felt like you could just kick that motherfucker over.
Yeah. Those like the robots looked. I mean, they looked like Johnny Five from Short Circuit and like an upside down trash can.
I was thinking it kind of reminded me of Alpha from Power Rangers. Also,
yes, I could see the head is very Alpha. Yeah, but like it looked like if you just ran at this thing at the side, you could knock it over pretty easily.
Well, it had to turn its whole head to like see them. So like there was definitely blind spots. Like, why didn't they utilize blind spots? Also, like, the guy shot the laser out. It's like, at that point, the robot's kind of obsolete. You just kick that motherfucker over, and bam, you're done.
And something else I just kind of, like, something just dawned on me. At the end, towards the end, when they were, like, trying to use the mannequin... Well, no, the movie's 30-something years old. Like, if you haven't seen it by now... Yeah, all right? So, spoilers for Chopping Mall. I'm sure you don't want the story ruined for you. But towards the end, when they're like using the mannequins as like decoys, and then they set up the mirrors behind the mannequins to reflect the laser shots back at the robot, why didn't you just, like, at step one, go get a mirror? And, like, as soon as this thing starts firing at you, just hold the mirror up, like...
Yeah, like, this whole thing could have been solved, like, very quickly with, like, just mirrors in the beginning. Or, like, at least go, like, take some mirrors from the store so you have multiple mirrors, like, put them all over your body. Be like, yeah, shoot me, motherfucker. And then it's, like, it just blows up.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're looking a little bit too hard at the logic of chopping.
I mean, I think you can just curb stomp these motherfuckers and they would be dead. That's where I'm at with this experience. Yeah, so this movie starved the same man over and over again.
Same generic white guy getting killed multiple times.
Yeah, not one of the characters was fucking likable.
I don't give a shit about no one likable in this movie at all.
I didn't give a shit about any of them, like, at all.
I was actively rooting for people to die. See,
I was rooting for the robots in this film. Yeah, if you want a good horror movie that's in the mall, don't watch this and go watch season 4 of Stranger Things instead.
I will say, like, as far as, like, 80s horror, like, if I were a kid, you know, well, I was a kid when this came out, but, like, if I were seeing this, like, at this time...
What, you mean you didn't run out to the theater and see this film?
Again, no.
This fine 3.5-star masterpiece?
Somehow resisted the drawing power of Chopping Mall. But, like, if you're looking for, like, this would be, like, one of those movies you would catch, like, in the middle of the night on HBO. And, like, if, you know, there's, like, boobs in it, so if you're a kid, you're, like, all about it. Like, yeah, hey.
Okay, I mean, maybe that's where the 3.5 stars came from, is boobs.
Kids who like boobs and aren't allowed to see them in normal movies.
I really don't know what else to say about Chopping Mall. Being locked in the mall is, like, inherently scary, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that part of it, I get.
Too much of a good, you know, even of a good thing, really.
No, the mall's fucking scary at nighttime. Like, I know that from working, like, overnight, like, scary shit, but yeah.
But anyway, that's our quick impression of Chopping Mall. If you're looking for, like, a stereotypical cookie cutter, cheesy 80s horror movie, then yeah, I mean, you cannot go. I mean,
you can very easily make it into a drinking game. Like, anytime someone does something stupid.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, which is fucking a lot.
Anything that doesn't make sense happens. Just drink, or you could just drink and then watch this movie. I mean, either way, you're drinking.
Either way, like, just drink.
Yeah. But anyway, please check us out sometime. Thank you to Invasion of the Remake for having us on. Check us out at evilgeeks.com. You can also find us on iTunes. Our show is Transmissions from the Evil Lair. I am Chris.
I'm Amanda.
And thank you for listening.
All right. Special thanks again to Indy and Samantha from I Love This, You Should Too, and Chris and Amanda, Transmissions from the Evil Lair. Go subscribe to them right now. Hit pause, go subscribe, and then come back and listen to us.
Yes, listen to us.
Yes.
Or just do it after.
It's better to pause it now and do it than to forget about doing it later.
Yeah, you don't forget about it. You don't want to forget about it.
Write it down.
Do you like being forgotten about? I don't think so.
No. And,
oh, no.
And of course, this was part of All the Horror, and you can follow all the podcasts involved in the crossover event of the century, All the Horror, at All the Horror 18 on Twitter and All the Horror on Facebook as well. Check out the website for all the listings. There's writings, there's art, as well as a shit ton of podcasts.
Yes.
All horror related. And this was the second annual event. Sam, thanks for organizing that for everybody.
I'd say it was a pleasure, and it kind of was, mostly was. But it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
But it's worth it. It really is worth it. I've made some new friends this year. And we've had some really great content this year.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a t-shirt, several t-shirts. There's 6 designs you can buy right now at the All the Horror t-shirt shop on TeePublic, and 100% of that goes to Scares That Care, children's charity. So show that you care, pick up a cool shirt, and help support some kids in need.
You know what? TeePublic, great quality, comfortable as well.
Mm-hmm.
Trish says the same thing. Exactly. I have yet to buy one, but I'm going to make sure. So go to TeePublic, search out All the Horror.
Or just go to the All the Horror website, and there's a link to each shirt on the merch pages.
That's right. And you can find the links on the social media as well, again, on Facebook and at All the Horror 18 on Twitter.
It's the only way you can convince your friends that you don't exclusively watch Downton Abbey.
I'm sure some people want to convince people of that, though. That's the weird bit.
True. I'd be interested in seeing what that Venn diagram would look like. People who exclusively watch Downton Abbey, people who listen to Invasion of the Remake.
I have not exclusively watched Downton Abbey, but I kind of want to. I hear it's good.
Me too.
But we're going to talk more about Chopping Mall here. We've got to rethink this a little bit because, as we discussed at the top of the show, is malls are kind of dying. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of thought about this. Like I said, you kind of have to make them destinations, which kind of makes this idea a little more fun in a way, because you will... I almost envision this as a horror comedy, as Jeff has just leaned into a little bit. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I feel like anybody trying to remake this might be a little late, but a horror comedy that is also part of the torture porn genre.
Yes.
I want to get rid of the robots entirely.
Comedy,
I want,
still horror.
As Jeff said, the mall is also a character. I want the mall being like, this is high-tech security that is the mall itself.
That was my first thought, actually.
Yeah. Well, you can have right nowadays, like they have like the smart home where you can like check your locks, you can check all that
Absolutely.
stuff. That would make sense in a mall.
Yeah, so this is just amped up. Like, I'm thinking along the lines of some billionaires made this a new destination. Because, I mean, we've gone from... like the small, more personal experience that a small business would be, where, you know, you go in and you learn everybody's names and that sort of thing, to a more communal experience that a malls were, to a completely impersonal and private experience that online shopping is. Mm-hmm. So bringing back the communal aspect of malls by creating these attractions that are realistically already happening now to revive malls.
No, I think you would start it off with something like, if, you know, just to point to a real world example, like there's Amazon, mm-hmm. and there's, you know, a CEO like Jeff Bezos, and
but let's make it more likable.
No, exactly. But the whole thing with Amazon is they're so big and they make so much money that right now.
And they're talking about
Amazon
creating
Prime
stores
for
now,
shows and stuff.
Yeah,
but they don't expect to make money.
And didn't Amazon actually
just to sell the membership?
And didn't Amazon actually just open up a box store recently?
Well, they have, and with like varying success. But I feel like it would be something like, you know, everyone thinks that Amazon is killing businesses. So you'd start it off with something like, for good PR, they decide to open up a big mall, and then open it up to be affordable for, you know,
no, they save
whoever.
A failing mall even better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they save a failing mall,
and of course they've revived it with these attractions and things like it's just happened down the hill from us.
They provide cheap rent to people or businesses who are struggling.
Yeah,
just like really set it up as something that you could actually see.
Yeah, but you'd also do it like remember that mall that they were making, like where like tiny little kind of lots in the mall again, but interspersed with like bigger ones. Like, because they could do like, it's like instead of your Etsy store, it's like an Etsy place.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it will have its islands, I think, but it seems like the more popular attraction stores, rather than small stores, they get big fucking spaces.
Yeah, that
just seems to be what's going on right now. I don't know, at least in Canada, I don't know if the same pattern's happening in the States, but that seems to be the trend at the moment. I mean, I like the idea of having like an actual Etsy store, which would be kind of fun.
Because like this was like sort of the new plan they were trying to do for this mall, where it was like maybe smaller space to get more people in, it would be more profitable.
Mm-hmm. But it's like 80% empty.
Yeah,
you'd have to do something where it's
that's
like
why I think Amazon
the reconciliation of how can somebody have so much money to have these killer robots that go awry, or a killer security system, which is probably more the direction you'd want to go.
But then there was another thing they did where they had a store where it was sort of like a no-line store, where you'd have your payment information in your phone, and you go in and you just take stuff off the shelves, and then you just leave.
Oh, I kind of dig that.
And that
actually.
they did do that with a store, but the problem is people had to line up outside to get in. It was a no-queue store, but you had to line up to get in. That's where it went wrong.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of as much of this mall being automated as possible.
Yeah.
Like I've seen movie theaters where they have self-serve snacks and that sort of thing, and you just kind of swipe a card or...
You know, if you wanted to make a specific stance, one thing you could do is make it where... so I was just at Disneyland, like, within the past week, and a lot more, you know, while you're waiting in the queue, and they're like, download our app, and then you have something to do in the queue, or download our app, and then you can find your way around, or download the app and see how busy it is to get food at these different places. You know, you could do something where everyone's made to download an app to get in the mall for a better shopping experience, but then the security system starts targeting people
who download the
Well,
app. Yeah, that's where I was going.
Actually, I do like I like that, because if we're going to go with some rich billionaire who's doing this for a good PR stunt, a great attraction, you've got the app, so now you're tracking the people where they are at any given time.
Yep.
That's information that's valuable to the mall, what stores they're in, but you can also track where they are and who's shopping where, what age, etc. You've got a lot of statistics happening there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of statistics they're already grabbing just with sensors and cameras and stuff that are in these box stores already. Don't think you're not being scanned when you're going in there. They're getting all sorts of information from you just by going there. So I like the subversiveness of this as well. And I want to create a bit of a mystery here because, okay, we've got the rich billionaire, always suspect.
Yes.
Maybe we've got the angry janitor who's like this one guy, and a lot of robots that do the cleaning, but there still needs to be this one guy because robots miss things, Roombas.
But there's also stuff like that you gotta get into the corners of stuff, and it's hard to get a robot.
So you could have it where they're saving a dying mall, and it's going to be all automated.
Yeah.
But then the entire staff of people who have to work at the mall,
so we can have
gets cleared out.
Yeah, so we can have disgruntled,
and I can explain why we have staff there too. And I'll let Jay finish, and then I'll explain what. I was
so we can have a disgruntled staff there, and I was also thinking like we can have. This is all happening at a big grand opening as well. Yeah. So, I think that could be fun. So we've got a big crowd. Like, I don't want people locked in. I want this thing to go awry while it's open.
And I was thinking, too, when you're talking about, like, all the data that's kind of gathered, what's really fun is you have them there looking at all the statistical data of where everybody's going. And, like, say one store people are passing by more often, and all of a sudden, like, real time, you see it going like, okay, let's drop some of the prices in that place. Say there's a sale going on and see how much traffic we can put into there. Like, just watch them
you can do real time.
Manipulate people into going where they want them to go. And they're tracking this. And that's part of like the big billionaire's plan is like he's really just trying to manipulate all these people. And this is all
really plausible because we see like information tracking happening just on things like social media platforms.
That's what you used to sell it to the board.
Yeah, and with the app, it's like there's PR, a sale on it, blah, blah, blah. Go now and use this code.
Oh man, just to be able to herd people where you want.
Yep.
Well, and a company I used to work for, I'm not going to name drop, but they were a tech company and they're a media company. They sold internet and telephone and TV, and one of the apps they were working on was targeted advertising like that, where you would walk past a store and it would give you an ad as you walk past.
Well, so okay, I think we've got a nice high tech mall built by this rich billionaire. We still have to have technicians because it's a lot of technology. So now you've got technicians that could be suspect. You've got workers that have been laid off that could be suspect as to maybe somebody's manipulated the technology or tampered with it in such a way to turn this into an H.H. Holmes style death trap. And I think some of it is by design. Yeah. So whether it's happened in the build by somebody who's fucking with it or it was intentionally the billionaire, like I want to keep that as a big mystery because that's something we don't get in horror a lot is the murder mystery part. Let's throw a little bit of clue in there.
Because and the other thing about it too is you could technically think about that because you might want to think he's like, well, if I could sell this overseas and this is how you can destabilize an area if we want to really fuck up
military
people.
Applications.
Yeah, the billionaire might be thinking he's like, I just want to keep in power so I'll destabilize other places that I don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of these people would do this.
I mean, even though I feel like it's a trope for a reason, the whole like robots built via military contract. But that would be an easy way to...
I think it would just be, I just want more money if I destabilize.
No, I can see it on a corporate warfare standpoint rather than a military one. That because he could easily manipulate an area and destabilize it and then rebuild it the way they want.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess in talking about kind of
especially if you're trying to suck up real estate and whatever. If you got entire families out there to get them fucking slaughtered in your death.
Yeah,
and
this is modern warfare.
At least in terms of the whole thing with apps like changing sales to like increase business, that would swing both ways. Where if someone was to go against the mall, they could just change things and all of a sudden turn their store into a dead zone. Or something.
And that's the point of it all.
Yeah.
This is they're trying to keep everything really manipulated.
We still have actual store owners as well. So the ones that aren't put in there by the mall are the ones that they'd be like, okay, let's see if we can usher them away from this guy and over to our stuff so we can stay profitable.
Or the other way around is like, well, these guys are paying rent and they're paying that 10% of their sales for their rent. Let's push people to these stores because we make more money that way than on our own stores where we're not making money off the square footage.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very expensive PR stunt, really, to say, hey, we are giving back to the people.
Yeah.
And yes, and it probably has indoor skydiving and theme parks.
And a movie theater.
And a movie theaters.
You know,
movie theater, multiplexes
if you add
definitely
attractions,
draws.
that's like just fertile ground for, for fun.
And it brought me into, when you talk about the movie theater, it brought me into the fact of like this big thing like Amazon, and they go into the movie business, but they're only showing their own movies.
You know, and I mean, we see big stuff like Amazon movies and Netflix big budget movies. I mean, I just watched a Hulu one recently, and I mean, everybody's expecting Disney to fucking kill film with their platform. I don't know if that's going to actually happen. It might just create a new opportunity for people to actually find some room to have their movies shown in the theaters again when that's dominated by Disney for the last 5 to 10 years.
Fun scene idea. So I think one of the most unintentional funny parts of Chopping Mall is how it opens up as a movie within a movie. And you're like, oh, I get it. It's a movie within a movie. Oh no, it's just this movie. But you could have a scene like in a theater, because also in theaters people are trying to find ways to get people to go to theaters more. And there's a lot of places that are really leaning into that, like ultra 4D, can't believe how real it is, look how many special effects we have in the theater while you're watching the movie.
And like the nice chairs, service to your seat.
You could have a really great like movie in a movie moment where people are watching a movie like with the robots from the first Chopping Mall in it or something, and then there's a death scene in the theater.
We could still do this afterwards. I just had a cool death scene in mind. You know how like when you have the multiplexes attached, and of course they go really late past the mall closing, so usually is some sliding clear door of some sort to separate them, keep them from going back into the mall where they don't need to be. So, like, wouldn't it be cool to have somebody who's already being slaughtered on one side while this movie's letting out on the other side, and they're seeing this? Could be like, oh, that's a weird promotion. Like, oh, that's freaking me out for that horror movie or whatever, and takes a little bit to clue in that somebody's being murdered.
It's a great idea, actually.
As they're heading and of course,
I have a super gross idea.
And they're heading to their cars in the parkade, which is just a fucking giant kill box.
Yeah. But I had
because if they're panicked, they'll start killing themselves just by trying to all come out at the same time and bumping into each other and whatnot, let alone whatever crazy fucking contraptions that the mall has put in within the parkade
You're going to go state of the art. You're going to have a crazy parkade. Have robo valet service.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep. Yeah, and they could make use of the they're not security bots, but like the cleaning bots and your robo valet service, because
I would think the robots would be a little more passive as far as it'd be service robots and cleaning robots, that sort of thing. That you might have that actually need to be tactile and out there doing things,
because you need some of that in order to herd people into situations where they can be killed. Right.
Well, I mean, I would think the security doors would be a great way to usher people into certain areas, but like I like the idea of like some things that were intentionally put in there to maim and destroy and hurt people when the mall was being built. So now your villain,
you could just
actually have a physical person rather than an accident.
Because you could have just someone who's designing the robots who feels like they're not getting the credit or the money they deserve.
Not just the robots, but the entire mall.
Yeah.
Who's an H.H. Holmes style guy. Like, this was always in this person's plan, whether the billionaire knew something about it or not, or it was.
So you want intent. You want deliberate intent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't want a fucking lightning strike or a haunted fucking mall.
See, I do want intent, but
and then he creates a villain.
He needs. When you talk about like robots like intently made to do that, I think he wants to hide the fact that like these people were killed by like I think he wants to hide behind something. So to make like an overt robot that somebody will look at and be like, oh, that person was chopped to death by an axe.
Oh, you
It
know
seems
what?
too overt to me.
All you would have to do is do something. So me and Leah are obviously a little morbid. While we were in Disneyland, we were also reading about the list of people who have died on rides.
Yeah,
and how
see, I
they've
mean, I
died.
think it should be
It almost always boils
quote
down
unquote
to,
an accident most of the
Disney,
time.
So Disney will always have something where they can spin it, where they say this person wasn't following the rules, so it was an accident and it was their fault. And you could have a lot of stuff where they have posted signs where, hey, don't do this, and it's just doing that. The price is absolutely being murdered to death.
That works, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that works really well.
Because, I mean, in rides and stuff, like, some of those deaths are like, some person decides to stand up and get off a ride while it's slowing down and then gets, hit in the head by another roller coaster type thing.
Yeah. Or the
and gets
ride
decapitated.
didn't lock.
Or the ride
and
didn't
it's
lock.
their fault somehow.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, things where, looking at it objectively afterwards, you could say, I could believe somebody, through their own stupidity, that happened to. But you're just seeing them getting murdered, and it made to look that way.
That'd be a good, more subtle
Because if he's going
traps.
to continue to do this...
Yeah, so say if there was an indoor roller coaster, because we do have that in West Edmonton Mall, maybe something's rigged in a certain seat that bumps them up at a certain point, so it does look like this person got up, but actually was purposefully killed. And we have a lot of these things that are made to look like accidents that are intentional murders.
It's like you could use, you could have somebody basically being like a vigilante with access to all of the people's phone data, and then deciding which people he thinks based off of their market
their
research.
social media?
You're cheating on your wife. You're
Actually, no.
looking at too much porn.
This guy is looking at their social media and he's like going, oh yeah, so you're in charge, you like this tax to be had, so I'll just kill you because I don't like you.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, all sorts of things. Like they can, because you have that app and say it connects to your social media, you can see the politics. You can see their likes and dislikes. Okay, this guy's sending messages to this girl that he's cheating on his wife. You can have all sorts of motives. Because,
but see, I don't think this H.H. Holmes guy would kill somebody for cheating on his wife.
Well, H.H. Holmes was a real guy, but
I know, but I mean, this
our version of it,
this evil billionaire, I don't think that's going to be his trigger.
I could see it being
well, I'm not saying it's
like,
the billionaire. Though.
Like he doesn't like whatever the justification is. It's like one person specific. You should die. You shouldn't. Motive.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't really matter, but I mean, as long as we could find out what those reasons are based on the access that he has to
and
these
that's
people.
the thing, like when you download apps, it tells you it needs access to your contacts, all this other stuff, your phone. Can it make phone calls for you? This one drives me nuts.
You know what? Something that people don't even realize is, you buy a phone and the messaging app that's installed on your phone, most times if it comes from Apple or if it's made by Android, and part of the setting up your phone
would you like to add
privacy
your
stuff,
contacts from Facebook? Would you like to add
it's like specifically stuff like anything you type into your messaging app, no matter what it is, can be accessible and read by anyone who works at the company.
Yep.
So like even including credit card data, including like any personal information, which is why people say you shouldn't be texting that type of information to other people. But you could just pull up somebody's text log history and it's within their right because you gave them permission to.
Yep.
by buying the device or giving access to that app.
I had a thought about the app, the mall app, is it actually guides people into kill zones.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. It uses the targeted advertising saying, well, go here. And the best part is they're looking at their phone to go here.
Totally.
So it looks like it's their fault because they weren't paying attention to where we were
Because
going.
they're staring at their phone.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a great
They've made
spin.
everybody play Pokemon Go in the mall.
That's essentially what they're doing is they're looking for the deal, right?
Oh my
They're looking
god,
for
that
the
should be
deal.
in addition to this whole thing. There is a game you can play in the mall.
Oh, totally.
Oh yeah, gotta catch all the deals.
You could,
and then you get a discount. Like you could win. Oh my god, get $1,000 free shopping spree at the mall if you catch all of these things.
A digital like
and all it would have to be is something like at Disneyland, they have something where in their in one of their games, you
it's
just
a
go to
digital
different
scavenger
parts
hunt.
and then just find QR codes and scan them.
Yeah, it's a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
Oh, and that would be a great opening promotion.
It would
Yeah.
be
for
a
the
great
mall.
opening promotion.
Actually, that would be a great. Just open the movie with a fake ad for the mall with all of that stuff in it.
Yeah.
And you could see people just running over other people to get to these deals. Like this is like Black Friday.
And the worst part is, if we took out the blood part, all that sounds really fun and cool, doesn't it? Which is what we're
And that's
doing.
why
We
it
want
works,
you
though.
want to entice the people into this fucking death trap.
Because all we've been doing is thinking of ways that consumers are exploited by companies and trying to find a way to make that. But everything we've been talking about is real.
And we've
or has the potential to be very, very easily. Yes.
And the thing we've done here, we've added the commentary on consumerism, how it's changed, how society's easily manipulated by social media and apps and advertising, and it's all happening in there. So we've got all this wonderful Romero-esque commentary going on in our horror movie, which I love.
You know, and just because of the setup of the app and everything, like, just because that's how the world works, like, not everyone is going to download it. And what does it look like for those people going to the mall?
I want, like, our heroine to be like, it's asking for all this information. No.
Yeah, you have the doubtful ones. You have the ones that just are disconnected, who don't even carry them. Maybe they got a flip phone instead. You know?
You could have something where... So, I mean, obviously, you could go one of two ways. You could have this open up, like the movie take place during the grand opening of the mall.
Yes,
or
absolutely. I wanted
you could go another direction, and the mall is like, maybe it's been open for a year, and maybe there's one person without an app who does have an accidental death that's actually an accidental death that kind of opens the doors to this thing that's been going on the entire time.
Yeah, I like the idea of the grand opening. I like what you're saying there, but I like the idea of the grand opening because it makes it a big event.
Totally. I mean, you have maximum people there.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was thinking like we could have our core people, like they're sort of our heroes and heroines and all that.
Yeah, we need to talk about these guys now.
Yeah, we do. We obviously we want to change them. We don't want them to be the sort of tropey.
No, let's have the small unit family, and you can have the boyfriend girlfriend because this is people of all types, and the grandparents and just the average person.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've got our young cast, and I mean, with these types of movies, a young cast is kind of critical in order to draw your demographic. Even though this mall is kind of mostly automated, I like Trish's idea of where you scan and it just pays automatically, so you have very few staff, but you need people to restock those shelves and all that stuff, and that's what these guys are. That would have explained, if we were staying with the same sort of after hours concept, why they were there after hours, is they were supposed to be there.
I could still see some of the stores that are controlled by the billionaire having robotic stocking arms and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of small businesses that don't. They can't afford that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and maybe you even have some of them as small business owners, like we do with I think Rick and Leslie. I think we're the married couple. They own the business that they have in the mall there. So you maybe you
Rick
have
and
them
Linda, by the way.
Sorry, Steve and Linda.
Rick and Linda.
Rick and Linda. Doesn't matter. Their names don't really matter.
No,
they're all corpses.
Yes, they're just meat to me.
Yeah, but they're young business owners, right? So they own like little tech companies, and they've got maybe we have an artist couple who are millennial hippie artists who make their own urns from cat litter. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, like you got to have
a little hipster store would be great.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, because it's like this big online giant, you're going to have these weird stores that you've not seen in a mall before. I always thought.
And you know what? I love this idea. Is you have somebody who does on-site screen printing. They just do your design and they screen print your T-shirt right then and there.
Well, I did.
Because I would go there.
But I did that.
There's a couple stores like that.
Yeah, I did that at Chinook here in Calgary for your stag. I got you that shirt right in the mall.
Yeah.
Ooh.
She's waving her head.
Yeah, but I'm really talking like hand screen printing, right?
Pick
like
me.
They actually
Pick
do
me.
It, yeah.
Remember
Trish.
Thank you. Okay, remember, like, they can make a figurine of you when they did it like a 3D scan. It cost a lot, and like make a figurine of yourself as like Lord of the Rings or something like that.
Don't waste the class time. No, that's actually really good.
That's really good.
I think people would do that in this mall.
Well, I've seen that at conventions.
Great kill idea for that scene. Somebody is running away, whatever happens, they stumble into this figure booth, and it makes a figure of them, like, decapitated or something.
Oh, yeah, or like half their face is missing.
Thank you.
And that's their new pop figure.
Yeah.
or bobblehead.
The scene ends with the figure just dropping into the slot to pick up.
Oh,
cut
I
to the next
love
scene.
it. I love it.
That is the new extension on the photo booth.
Yeah, like, because they stumble into it mid-death.
I like it.
I like it very much. Yeah, so we have our sort of core characters. I mean, whether you have like 4 or 6 or 8 like there were in the original movie, but you have sort of these people that you sort of focus on as things start to happen, right? Because they start to notice things, right? They start to notice that That's our third accident today. Something's not right.
Yeah. Oh, some could be staff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some work at the
Mm-hmm.
stores, some are customers. And we should have the connections being made where they ditch their phones or turn them off. And
Or somebody's phone has died
finding
at the
ways
beginning of the
to
movie.
circumvent the security, because
Yeah.
I bet you they can detect heat signatures, they can detect motion, and of course cameras. It'd be cool to have acid in the sprinklers.
Oh, what would be
I have
cool-
an idea for a kill too. Just
Oh.
now. Sorry, you go ahead first though.
Sorry, thanks. I have two ideas. When you're talking about, I think there should be a family, like you say, a family out, and there's that whole thing. And I know a lot of people are dealing with this with their children. Is like going, I think I need to have a phone, and like all through the whole thing is like, I need to have a phone so I can come here by myself. And then at the end, it's like, oh, I think, aren't you glad I didn't get you a phone? And have sort of that whole bit thing. And then there was another thing
That's
that sort,
good,
I
actually.
sort of lost, but it was a really good idea. Damn it. Okay, it'll come back to me.
Must not have been that good.
So an idea is because somebody mentioned a phone dying. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they have charging stations. Of course, they have charging stations.
Of course they
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
So you've got a
They
death
have
there
them
with
in
the
malls now.
exploding phone.
Hands-free
nice.
charging station.
Yeah, they put it down and it just overcharges it,
Blows their
to-
hand off.
and blows
That's
blows their hand right off, or blows
Or
up right in their,
somebody's
in their
talking
face.
on it while
Yeah.
it's charging.
Yeah.
It blows their head up.
Yeah.
I get the
Then
idea.
we get our head blowing up scene. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I get the idea
Callback.
too, where they hold these people hostage, because you know when you're saying like they just scan your phone and it just pays, it just empties. It's like if you don't come out, we'll empty your bank account.
Yeah, it harms you in various ways. Sometimes it's not something you've actually physically gotten, but yeah, I love how these
They'll
things...
message your loved ones.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's not a threat. It's just something that starts happening.
Yeah, like the apps itself are doing things as well.
As an addendum to something we were talking about earlier, in terms of motive and victims, you could just really the killer, if it was someone designing everything, wouldn't even need a motive. They could just use social media to find the people that other people would be least likely to miss. You know, trying to find the people where they just moved out to this place for the first time, or they're really depressed and haven't been seeing friends lately, or just for whatever reason, they're people where if they were to disappear, it might not be... It would
It
be
would
a
take a
tragic
time while for
accident.
somebody to
Oh
just sort
my
of notice that they
God.
weren't
Yeah.
around. anymore.
Yeah, and you'd have like somebody who works at the mall is like going, I'm so glad I got this job. Like they just got out of rehab or something like that. And they're like, it was really hard for me to find a job, but then I got a call out of the blue.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of this mall being in an opening. You got the mayor there, you got the billionaire there, maybe some reporters who have done some digging, and maybe there were already some deaths happening in certain test phases that have been unexplained. Well, how do you respond to this?
Yes.
They're like, well, we've worked out the
You
kinks,
know,
and those
people
were really
die building Disneyland rides all the time.
Well, this is unfortunate. People did
Addendum,
die.
Not all the time. Don't sue us, Disney.
Yeah, people did unfortunately
Hoover Dam
pass
is full
away
of dead bodies.
building this death mall. You can have them working the media and saying, yes, people died building the Eiffel Tower or whatever, you know.
The Hoover Dam.
Hoover
right?
Dam.
Yeah.
But you've already set up an expectation, well, something's a little off here right off the bat, because there are deaths even prior to opening.
Like that idea. Yeah, and have
You know
somebody
what?
actually
The,
baldly ask the question, do you think you're gathering too much data on people?
And that
You
makes
know
them
what?
a target.
and then
right
they get
away, too.
you know they just give the answer back. Oh well, we need all of this data only to make the app and the whole experience work in the best possible way, because that's the answer that you
Yeah,
get in
they
real
do
life.
all the time. We're doing it for you in order to cater to your needs.
It's like, we
Nope,
could not
big
have
lie.
that data, but the app would suck. So
Okay, well, I think our cores, we should have like the family. I would like the reporter and the cameraman to be a part of the main characters.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we are ditching the core structure of the original
Oh, yeah,
film
there's no
as
orgy
far
party.
as the orgy party or whatever.
It doesn't need to be there.
That doesn't need to be there. It's less the exploitation is happening in the horror itself,
Yeah.
because that's kind of why we go to horror movies in the first place, is to watch the deaths. And this is a bit tongue in cheek as well. But we're also using real life technology and showing you the horrors of technology within this film, which seems to be a theme this month.
Well, and mass data and the overuse of it.
So yeah, let's use the reporters, small family. I have no problem seeing
And a couple of
children
shop
die,
owners.
and a couple of shop owners,
Yeah.
which still plays back to the original film as
Yeah.
well. So you still have your core 6 or 8 people.
I think
And-
there definitely should be like a mall rat type person.
Yeah,
Someone who's
absolutely.
just there to
they
check
don't
it
have to
out.
be
And he's
couples.
pissed off too, because
Yeah.
it's not the mall experience he
Yes.
wants. He wants the mall experience where he can go in and skeeve around and not feel like he's being monitored all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have the guy who the total anti-tech guy.
Yeah, okay, I like the mall rat idea too. That's great.
Kevin Smith's Mallrats was the most amazing movie ever made. Have him do that.
Actually, I was thinking when we first started talking that I think whatever version of this movie that I would like to see is just Mallrats versus today's version of Killer Robots.
Oh yeah, I want violent Mallrats. That's what I was looking at when I first saw it.
Well, now we just have a killer mall, right? And there are robots. We have access to robots, right? That it can use to manipulate things.
There are
as well.
some service bots and things like that.
There's definitely a cleaning robot.
I do have a very important question though that none of us have talked about yet. How would we incorporate chopping?
Oh, I would love to use the security door as a guillotine.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, and again, we have the service robots. You can manipulate one of those where it does chop somebody into pieces.
I would love like one of those, like say it's a robot that polishes the floors and just buffs some dude to death.
Yeah, you can see it like just buffing the skin right off.
Yeah.
You like such a great visual.
like that.
And then,
I know, right?
Before you'd cut away, you'd have a shot of whatever buffed head, but the skull is at least has a little sparkle.
Oh, it's got to be shiny.
Super shiny.
It's
I
gotta
can see
be
your face in
shiny.
it. I can see my face.
And add that Bing sound.
And I mean, assuming the public is going to see these bots at times, they're almost cutesy and friendly, which just makes them a little creepy when something bad happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's like in Japan, they do have robots. They have in some service jobs where they had to change their design because people were uncomfortable with how they looked.
Yeah, there's one thing they tried to make them too humanoid, so they had to dial back.
They had to make them more, sort of
To make them
cutesy,
look
more
cutesy.
anime-ish, yeah.
Yes.
So
I also feel like some of the main characters should be scumbags because I feel
for
like
sure.
you want
yeah.
to be on a level where, I mean, it's a whodunit. You want to wonder if they're being picked off intentionally or not.
And that's where I'm thinking, like, you do some on the people who are backgrounds, like I said, I want suspects as far as who's behind this and who's working there and the designer, the technicians.
PR guy from the beginning has to stay, I think.
Sure, absolutely. We got to have some skeevy guys that you're going to cheer for when they die, right? Yeah. And as some of the suspects get picked off, PR guy, he's one of those assholes who should stick around for a while. That you
and
just
then,
when he finally goes, is the
I want the
audience
Paul
goes
Reiser
crazy.
character from Aliens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. Paul Reiser is still alive. Casting choice.
There we go. Since we didn't cast for the version we made. Hey, that's a great choice.
Yeah. No, actually, that's a great segue. We should probably get into our casting. Now, keep in mind, we just came up with these ideas, so when we came up with our casting, it's ahead of time, and we're kind of utilizing some of the archetypes. And hopefully, we can manipulate some of our casting into those archetypes.
I mean, for the most part, because most of our cast is still fairly young. You've got your camera person and your reporter and your business owners can be young, right? It's really the family is the only one that really doesn't fit.
I had some a bit older, so mine might kind of.
Yeah, mine were varying of ages. I don't have like any seniors or whatever.
No,
but
mine are all 30
actually,
or younger. Yeah.
I do have one senior, but he's my mayor because I did come up with that idea prior.
No, I had my guy. I kept him in a role, but it was like he was like the tech guy. I moved him up.
All right, Sam, why don't you start us off?
I will start us off. Okay, so Allison, who was our final girl, I cast Jessica Sula, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what she was in.
Way to take notes.
Yeah, I do. I do. But yeah, for my Ferdy, I went with a young actor named Ashton Sanders. He's been in actually a ton of stuff. For my Rick, Ryan Potter.
You're not going to tell me one of those?
Nope. I didn't write it down. I don't know what I was thinking last night.
He's been in a ton of stuff, but
you'll have to go look him up.
Look him up.
Yeah, Ryan Potter. I can tell you what he's in. He plays the Animal Boy in Teen Titans or Titans.
Okay, Changeling.
Changeling. Yes. For Linda, I went with Mackenzie Vega, and wow, I am terrible at writing stuff down this week. I did all my research and I didn't write anything down. I'm sorry, but again, these are all like young working actors between 25 and 30 years old. Right?
Okay.
So that was kind of my criteria, and I've seen them all in stuff before, but I don't. And I don't like to go to the people that you always see all the time. So oops. For my
apparently
Susie,
you don't either.
Apparently, apparently I don't remember. I know what I usually do write them down so I don't forget. For Susie, I went with Jeanette McCurdy. She was in iCarly. She was also in that's.
Oh yeah.
Was it Under the Dome? No.
Okay.
The other one with young people that are stuck in a town. In the Between. But yeah, so a very talented
something
actress, and I thought she'd be fun in that role. For my Greg, because I wanted to go with a guy with this kind of a similar look, I went with Dylan Minnette, who's the lead in 13 Reasons Why. For my Mike, considering Mike originally died fairly early in the film, I went with Harry Styles, good-looking skeevy guy. And then for my Leslie, I went with Jessica Amley, and she's a Canadian actress, and I don't know why I didn't write everything down. I'm sorry, folks. But yeah, she's one of those sort of up and coming. You're starting to see her in more and more stuff. It's still bit parts, but you're starting to see her in more and more stuff, which is why I cast her in one of the first people to die, because she's still a bit actor.
Okay, fair enough.
And then for my director, you and Trish are going to love this, Jay, because I wanted somebody with horror comedy chops. I went with Lowell Dean.
Oh, interesting choice.
Cool.
That was who I went with.
Nice.
And I wanted to use Lowell because I originally had him for Maximum Overdrive, but because I didn't make it.
Oh yeah, because you weren't
Yeah.
weren't here for that episode.
Yeah. So I went, hey, I can use Lowell this week then instead.
It's okay. Trish and I did a hell of a job on that episode.
We rocked that one.
We did.
We did. It was great. But yeah, it's weird because now we still have another technology gone wrong. So you didn't miss much. You're still in.
You still got to use it.
And because I wanted to lean into the comedy on the Maximum Overdrive, that's why I went with Lowell that time.
Nice.
I like a good horror comedy.
Yes.
Very good.
And Trish always says I don't like comedy. I do. There just needs to be blood in there.
Just needs to be blood. I know. I know. Yeah, you got to temper the comedy with some blood.
I always feel like with at least the type of movie that we've been remaking, it's a movie where if you were to approach it as a serious movie, it would be too depressing.
Oh, yeah, no, we can't. The themes have to be, we're gingerly introducing them in a way that's much more easy to
like you can
take.
laugh at it, but then go, ouch, that's pretty real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, if we went real on this, oh my, I'd be so depressed.
I mean, the way we scripted it, we could easily have kept it serious.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I like to keep it a little light because there's too much. But, you can go like really gory and really funny at the same time because the Piranha remake was very much like that. It's a lot of gore, but a lot of fun at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely want to lean. I'd like to lean into that just to break up the darker stuff that we've sort of come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've come up with a lot of stuff where you don't know who it is. It's really good.
And we have opportunity for way more people to die.
Yes.
Way more. All La Piranha.
We do like to add more death. It's so fun.
You know what? Honestly, I'm a little surprised that they didn't try to pad out the runtime of that movie with more death scenes.
That's what I thought.
I mean,
Yeah.
they
Roger
cost
Corman
money,
budget.
but
Clearly didn't have the money for it.
No.
All their money went into that balloon head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just bad.
It was.
But at least it was interesting.
The balloon head and blowing up the elevator, I think that cost a bit.
Yeah.
And the robots themselves, because I mean,
They made 5.
They were all remote controlled robots.
and they all looked pretty good for 1986.
Yeah, considering they were just scrapped together.
Yeah.
by the way, that was another thing that I read. So the guy who co-wrote this movie with the director, his writing credits include primarily 80s cartoons like Transformers
Yep.
and
Oh,
Gems
That's right.
and
That's right.
G.I. Joe, and that makes a lot of sense.
I can write a script, but I need to
feel
have
like
a robot in it.
I feel like I can picture toy sets with those robots.
Yeah. I was looking him up and I'm like, I didn't write most of it down because it was just like, oh, look, it's a lot of cartoons. Yeah.
Nice.
What do you got, Trish?
Okay, so I went kind of like at varying ages for this, but just because I want like comedy. I actually thought comedy at the beginning because it is really funny, even though it doesn't mean to be. So for Allison, Claudia O'Doherty. She's in Love. She's in a few movies. She was in another one called like Extraordinary that I was watching this morning. That's why I kind of came into it. She's a little older, but she can look very young.
Cool.
And then for Ferdy, Tyler Johnston. He's in Letterkenny. He's like the goth guy. And then for Rick Stanton, Jared Kiso, also from Letterkenny, so a little bit older because I'm like, I want my married couple to be like age appropriate. Linda Stanton, Samantha Robinson. She's in The Love Witch. And I kind of like the twist because I kind of wanted to keep a thing where she can fix trucks and she can fix things. So I like that idea. For Susie Lynn, Effie Duffin, she's in Moonboy. She's Trish on Moonboy. Mike Brennan, I lost on this one because I'm like going, I don't know who I could cast in this. So I'm like, if we could make a time machine or clone him, young Chris O'Donnell is exactly what that guy looks like to me. Leslie Todd.
Chris O'Donnell still works.
He still works.
He's just not young anymore.
I know, but I want the young Chris O'Donnell who looks like this guy in my head. Every time I looked at him, I'm like, who does he remind me of? And then it hit me. And then for Leslie, I had Alison Brie because I just want her to be kind of just like the sexy symbol, and I know she would like lean into the camp of it. And then I added for like the company security guy, the big hoo-ha on it, Garrett Graham from the original. He moved up in the company from the last movie.
There you go. I like that.
Nice. I'm always a fan of including old cast members in remakes.
Yeah.
I love Garrett Graham. I actually wrote my notes when I saw him. Yay, Garrett Graham. And then for my director, somebody who, because it was a mall movie, Kevin Smith.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't just mention my direct. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, you did.
You know what? I could actually see a pretty good Chopping Mall remake by Kevin Smith. Like he knows
Tusk
his
is
way around
grotesque.
special effects a little bit. Mm-hmm. He can make a pretty decent comedy.
And Tusk was really gross. Like,
Tusk, I was a big fan of
And
Tusk.
still had a lot of humor in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Despite being pretty gross. All right, let's keep it moving. Jeff, what do you got?
Well, so we've kind of already waxed poetic about not having the same characters and stuff, but one thing I was trying to keep in mind was if I was to remake this as a comedy, who are some actors that I really like and would like to see in more things that I feel like would fit in a movie like this. One of the first people I thought of actually is Zazie Beetz, who is Domino in the Deadpool 2. She's also in Atlanta. She's always a joy whenever she turns up, and I feel like I feel like she's just waiting to be a really good final girl character in something.
Yeah.
in Slice, she was good, which is a good horror comedy that I
That's
enjoyed.
right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would love to see. I always a joy to see her in movies. I also was thinking it's always fun to have Kumail Nanjiani show up and stuff.
Yeah.
He also is a comedian who I think is very talented, who, by and large, never really is the main character in anything. And again, he would be always a fun character to turn up. He's a pretty big fan of horror movies, so that would be a good fit, I thought. Another actor, actually, if you're going to think of, like, I don't know, a reporter type character, or, I mean, this actor's pretty versatile. He could do anything, but Lakeith Stanfield, he's also another actor who was in Atlanta. He was also in Get Out as the first victim who,
Oh, him.
he's also in Sorry to Bother You, which is
Yes.
a comedy that just came out. And he's very, very talented and also has excellent comedic chops.
You're pulling my cast from Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, am I?
Nice.
That's really great. You know, it's basically, this is just the cast I would like to see in any
absolutely.
current movie.
Yeah.
Also, a technician role, absolutely, would have to go to Clint Howard, because Clint Howard's got to be in this movie somehow.
I like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know that you're winning as a movie a little bit if at least Clint Howard is in it.
I like that a lot. You got a director in mind?
So for directors, I was kind of trying to think of, like, I feel like there are some people who might be obvious choices. Like, I could say Jordan Peele, who does obviously have great horror and great comedy chops, but that might be a bit on the nose. And also, that's like me putting work onto a director that just seems to want to do his own thing right now.
Yeah, right now I don't think he's in that.
I don't think he's
mindset.
there.
Yeah,
but I think another, like, Taika Waititi would do a good job with a movie
Yes.
like that. He also knows his way around good special effects as well as comedy. I mean, I guess he did What We Do in the Shadows, horror comedy right there. But again, I almost feel like that's too obvious. But I honestly feel like this would be the type of movie where I don't know if I would try to get, like, a big name actor. I feel like this would be a better movie where
make
if
some
it was
names.
directed by somebody who has a history in being a special effects artist, that's who I would want to direct this movie.
Yeah,
Like, you know, you have your Greg Nicoteros, or like people like that, or like the people who directed John Wick. They're stunt guys who just want to.
It'd
make
be a good
movie about
opportunity
stunts.
for a special effects house to really make a name for themselves.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm landing a little bit. But it's tough because it's also hard to make comedy. So
Yeah. Okay, so now I got to rework mine a little bit, but some of this still works. For my director, we'll start with that because I have a bad habit of forgetting to do it if I save it for the end. I went with Marcus Dunstan, and he did The Collector and The Collection. He wrote
yes.
Feast.
Beast is good.
He wrote Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and Saws 4 through 7. So he knows weird contraptions.
absolutely.
He's done horror comedy with Feast.
Oh, yeah.
And he's done, like, torture porn with the Collectors in the Saw movies. So he kind of knows his way around this material. And the fact that he wrote Feast tells me he can do comedy. He just doesn't do it very often. But Scary Stories They Tells in the Dark has got a nice balance there as well. So some of that he's written, some of it he's directed, but most of them are decent. Except for some of those Saw movies. But
Yeah.
so he'd be a good choice. I got some weird ones here. Actually, I'll just try to fit things in as I go here, rather than use character names and try to fit them into the archetypes we've got. Let's see. For my Walter, for the janitor type janitor character, because I do want some guys who are like, oh, is it that guy? Is it that guy? I wanted Jackie Earle Haley.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
He's short, could easily be picked on, but can be really mean and tough at the same time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
he does that switch really well from
Yeah.
like nice guy to bad guy
Yeah.
really, really easily.
Yeah,
I definitely want a throwaway line about Watchmen.
sure, why not?
And also, just
And
as an
Nightmare on Elm
addendum,
Street.
Yes.
mentioning Clint Howard, this is also the type of movie you'd want to just load up with character actors.
Sure, absolutely. It's a great opportunity to throw a lot of recognizable faces in there. I think for my billionaire, another one that like could be evil, could not be evil, and just because I wanted to throw him in here somewhere, this is a perfect opportunity to use Colin Cunningham from Blood Drive and Falling Skies.
Ooh, very nice.
Thank you. I knew you'd like that.
Yes.
I actually had to cast my mayor of whatever town for the grand opening. I went with Lance Henriksen.
Nice.
Yeah, you know what? Lance Hendrickson, he's getting pretty long in the tooth. People should be trying to take advantage of him being alive still.
Yes, they're just like, if I can get a glorified cameo out of Lance, I am happy as a clam.
Absolutely. He would make a good billionaire. Or Stephen McHattie would also be.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Stephen McHattie. Love him.
Yeah.
Okay, for the Allison type character, I went with Haley Griffith. She'd be good for... She was in recently in Satanic Panic, which may or may not come up in 31 Days of Horror. I think she would be good for a hipster type character we were talking about.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
a type character like that. I do have a Ferdy, the kind of geek character, but he could actually be a technician rather than...
Yes.
And it would fit even better because my Ferdy is Richard Iowati.
Nice.
Awesome.
So he'd be a great tech guy.
It would be so cool. And I think you need one of the characters, I think, to be a tech guy, because in order to fight back, they need to have somebody.
Some internal knowledge. Right. I mean, there should be other ones, but...
Yeah, also, you know what? He could also direct it.
Oh, he
Yeah,
could.
he
out
is.
there.
He's a
Totally
good
could,
director.
He totally could. Absolutely. For Linda, she could just be somebody. I went with Kristen Ritter.
Okay.
Okay.
Jessica Jones. For the Rick character, I went with Alan Ritchson, also from Blood Drive. He was
Okay.
the male lead of that. Good-looking couple, but yeah, they could just be a mall couple. They could be something.
I was gonna say
they
that.
could be the reporters.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about it, too, is like we have the technician, but, you know, having somebody who could just like put stuff together is also very useful in fighting back.
So yeah, I'd say they're the actually they'd be great for the reporter.
Phone
characters.
repair shop people.
Yeah, but he's the reporter and she's the camera person
Yes.
because he's a good-looking man, and she's
I want
she's
to
a
see,
badass.
I want to
She's
see
a
her be a
badass.
smartass with a camera.
Yeah.
I just like her in those kind
So
of
that's a
roles.
nice like play on type.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you ever see female camera operators in
Yeah.
movies, even though I personally know a lot. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I got Katie Cassidy in here as Susie. She's in Arrow. She's done quite a bit of horror as
One
well.
of my favorite comic book movies, The Scribbler.
The Scribbler was great.
Yes.
So I had her in here. I'm not exactly sure what role she's going to play now, but
Well,
again,
she's at the age where she could play a young mother.
yeah, this could be a young mother. And let's make Drew Roy, also from Falling Skies, her Mike.
There we go.
Nice.
And we can have a young son somewhere in there.
Jacob Tremblay, because he's the only child actor whose name we know.
And let's
Yeah.
say our store owners here, because I thought they were the badasses of the original movie, were the store owners, the married couple, and I went with Lupita Nyong'o
Nice.
from Black Panther and Us. I just watched another movie recently
Me
that
too.
was fabulous, and I think I might be falling in love with her a little bit. She's kind of awesome.
She's
I'm
very,
falling in love
very
with her.
incredible.
And for her husband, for Greg, I went with John Boyega from Star Wars and Attack.
Nice.
And I'm in love with
People
him
love
too,
casting
so
Star
I'm
Wars
just gonna be
actors in
loved.
non-Star Wars roles.
He's done survival horror, so...
Oh yeah, John
Attack the
Boyega, he was
Block.
in Attack the Block, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's face it, his character in Star Wars has been kind of, let's give him something meatier to work with.
Yeah.
Because sorry, they
'Cause he
misused
is a
Finn.
good actor,
He is a
yeah.
good actor, and they've wasted Finn so far. So
Attack
Yeah.
the Block is really good.
Yeah, it is absolutely. All right. Well, this is starting to be. We're already longer than the original movie here.
One small addendum. I also think that Brian Taylor would be a good choice to director of Crank. and mom and dad
he would be
and
really
happy.
That's a really good choice. That's a really good choice.
I always used to think Neville, Dean, and Taylor were 3 people
Yeah.
until I saw the names.
Okay, again, once again, thanks to Indy and Samantha from I Love This. You should too for their contributions, as well as Chris and Amanda from Transmissions from The Evil Lair for their thoughts. Yes. I don't know how that came off on the mics. It was a polite golf clap, or it sounded like a crowd.
We are actually appreciative. This wasn't meant to be a sarcastic clap. It was very sincere. Please know that.
It's just the mic stands get in the way, so you gotta sort of...
Yeah, and this was our last episode for all the horror, but not the last episode of Invasion of the Remake. We got lots ahead of us. We've got the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing our 31 Days of Horror, and we're going to be telling you about our selections for this year's 31 Days of Horror Challenge. And again, if you don't know what that is, we do a tradition. This is like our 4th year for you guys, and then there's fucking Facebook reminding me from 11 years ago, and I was doing it before that.
MySpace?
MySpace days, yeah, and I know I did it for at least 3 years in a row there, so I'm encroaching like 14, 15 years here of doing 31 Days of Horror, but the 31 Days of Horror Challenge is watching a horror movie for every day of October that we've never seen before, and we're going to tell you about it. It's going to take us a couple of parts to do, so we'll spread it over the next 2 weeks. Lots of stuff to cover. We're going to start that off next week, our 31 Days of Horror coverage, and then we'll get back mid-November. We'll get back to our normally scheduled stuff.
Instead of 100% horror, it'll only be 80%.
That's right. It's 75. Look forward to that, and of course, tell everybody about the show. Spread it around. If you like what we do, recommend it to a friend and a family member, and leave us a 5-star rating and a short review on iTunes. We're star collectors, so as soon as you're done the episode, just click 5 stars and add to our collection.
It really goes a long way towards being seen.
Does indeed. So help us out and help spread the word. Another way you can do that is spread it out on social media. Retweet us, repost us, and
talk to us. Talk to us on Twitter. I always respond on Twitter.
Absolutely, and I monitor the Facebook stuff too, so I'll get to you. I'll get to you eventually. I have a day job, so it's a little tough sometimes during the day, but I will eventually reply to you. And you can also leave a comment over on YouTube as well. Spread the word. Tell them where to find us. We are on a ton of different platforms. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, Blueberry, Libsyn, iHeartRadio, and so many more, including frickin' YouTube. So spread the word. And if you are listening to us on YouTube, make sure you just double check, because YouTube, their algorithms go wonky and they've been unsubscribing people without their knowledge. So make sure you are subscribed and ding that bell for notifications when new episodes drop. Just so you know, make sure you tell everybody else to check their subscriptions and make sure you're still subscribed.
Wow. Frickin' YouTube.
Frickin' YouTube.
Frickin' YouTube.
Frickin' YouTube.
And if you're really mad at the podcast because we're not on your favorite podcatcher, well, you can also let us know about that too.
Yeah, we're trying to get out there as many podcatchers as possible. I always look at new ones to drop. We may be re-editing some of our first 50 so we can get on Spotify. So if you want them in their original form now, I would start downloading them now.
Yes.
So when we finally launch on Spotify, they will be a little different. Yeah, so I would...
if they're even on there.
If they're even on there.
True.
We may just move them over to archives.
Yeah, there are several that would be problematic.
yeah. So we're gonna do some rejiggering on those episodes before we put them on that platform, and that will probably affect all the other platforms. So if you like them the way they are, get a download of it, and then you'll at least have the original format.
Then you can tell all your friends how cool you are, because you have the original uncut episodes of Invasion of the Remake.
That's right.
I liked them before they were cool, like the hipster character in our remake.
And don't forget to follow us on our social media, at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion of the Remake on Facebook and Instagram, and Invasion of the Remake at gmail.com if you want to send us your suggestions, your corrections, and your comments. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Jeff.
It's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
Are you at least going to let him have a little exercise before you put him back in the basement?
I think I'm just going to let him go free range for a while. Let him get out in the world. He's looking a little pale.
I usually do.
Even after
he was
being
a
in
little
California.
That's true.
To be honest, he was a little surly at the beginning. I think it's. I think we just maybe we should just let this Jeff out in the wild.
Yeah, I think he's ready to be released.
I think so.
And if I ever come back, then you know that I remember where my home is, like a cat.
I mean, he did survive the zombie apocalypse.
You have to reward that.
But to understand that joke, you have to listen to Mike, and Oscar and that episode. But at some point, I might clip all those segments we've done for other shows together. But I'll do that someday, whenever I need a filler. all that content we've produced that you may or may not have heard, but we want to encourage you to go find the home that it went to, like Mike, and Oscar. We've guested on IMDb Journey this October.
So many. The week that we're recording this in was like a huge week where we guested on just about every podcast.
Yeah, we had a segment on Two Girls on a Bench again.
Yeah,
and
that one actually doesn't come out yet. I think that's next week.
We did Simpsons thing. I don't remember where all they went. We had a thing on Bad Reception.
That was the Simpsons thing. And then you did the
Stephen King.
That was for the Film Flamers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much. Right?
Yeah.
Just go to the All the Horror website, or actually go to All the Horror 18 on Twitter, or go to Facebook. The website's there, and click on the link to take you to the page. You can see the art, you can see the writing. We have 3 writers who are giving us some really great stuff.
Yeah, some short stories and
some poems. Yeah, there's some really great stuff in there. And I have to read the stories when I edit them, so they're. So they are quite good. And then, of course, all the podcast episodes are there. Plus, there's a special episode that's only available on the website. It's the only way you can hear it right now.
And it's pretty fun. I listened to it yesterday. It was pretty fun.
It sounds like there's not much more you can ask for if you're a fan of horror and Halloween time. I just start calling October Halloween these days.
It is. And October is all about the horror.
Yeah.
It's all the horror. We were happy to be a part of it. So
all the horror. All the time.
All the horror, all the time. I coined that a couple years ago. I like it. Still like it. I'm glad you get to use it as a catch line. Again, that should be a t-shirt. Maybe next season.
You know what? I happily modify some of the designs we already have to...
I have an idea for that one. I'll let you know.
If you're really burning to rep Jay's slogan, just grab a Sharpie and send us a photo of how you Sharpied your shirt with all the horror all the time.
Hey, I actually own that all the horror hashtag. So I think it's been taken from me at this point, but
it's been
co-opted.
It's been co-opted and purposed into something.
It's okay.
Much
it's been
larger.
repurposed into something pretty grand. Something I certainly didn't think about it when I registered. So
now I have that Eddie Murphy song in my head, but I've replaced one of the words. She likes to horror all the time, horror all the time, horror all the time.
You better say that very clearly.
My girl wants to horror all the time, horror all the time.
All right, well, that's it for all the horror, but we're not done quite yet. We got 31 Days of Horror next week. Until then, I've been Jason.
I am always Sam.
I continue to be Trish.
And
always return as Jeff Omega.
And we are out of here.
Thank you. Have a nice day.